Hey guys, this is Jim Garrity, president of JimFlix, the backup movie library for Netflix. And you are listening to the RadioShorty podcast with my son and hero, DJ Hi Kevin.
Like right when we jump into this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, the RadioShorty podcast with DJ Hi Kevin with our man Glenn Roush today.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, man? So we were just talking. You jumped in and we started talking about how awesome it is that you get to have the same backdrop that your wife had for the show. And you were just doing like a little point thing. I think I remember this because she was putting up. God, she did like a poll on which
I forgot
wallpaper
about
she
that.
wanted to use.
That was around Skunk Watch time. Yeah, so around Skunk Watch time, she was doing a poll about the wallpaper. So for your listeners, this was our guest room. Kevin's gotten to stay in here before and used to have shelves. So she took the shelves down and she told me she wanted to put up wallpaper. And then she went to Instagram to get input on the wallpaper. And wild enough, like I'm going to tilt this for a second. Yeah. She took an IKEA piece of furniture and repainted it the color she wanted. And then with this wallpaper, there are mushrooms and beetles, bugs.
The beetles. That's what I remember it being about. Yeah.
And there are beetles all over this thing. It's just wild. I like it. It was just the funniest thing for Jennifer LaForce Roush to tell me she was going to get was wallpaper with mushrooms and beetles.
Yeah, I very specifically remember like the beetles being like the hot thing. Was the other one she was looking at like also had bugs on it or something like that?
It did. It was, and the funny thing was like kudos to her. Like I love that woman. This actually wasn't the winner because people thought, I think that was the story. This wasn't the winner because people thought it was going to be weird to have beetles on the wall. The other one was pretty wild too, though. But yeah, this was the one that didn't win. And
did it anyway.
And she did it anyways because she liked it so much.
Bro, that's home ownership 101. At the end of the day, when you ask for help, do whatever the hell you want. Right.
Listen, home ownership 101 for all of your listeners is that home ownership is overrated. I know that rent going up sucks, but having to repair things in your home sucks as well. So home ownership is at least a tiny bit overrated.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We have not had a garbage disposal for over a year and a half now.
Yeah.
we literally just haven't used that bay of the sink. Because it's like, this is going to be for drying pots, you know?
You can't call the landlord.
Wait.
No, I got no landlord. Shorty, yeah, okay.
What do you mean?
Okay, let me just go fix it.
Hire somebody to fix it. What?
So I did. This is how is this the second show in a row that we just have talked about anything but what we normally talk? But I love it.
Fine.
We talked about movies with Dave Lander last week, which was hilarious. And now we're talking about home ownership real quick with you, bro. So this is great. Shorty, so what's up, Shorty? What's going on over there? What are you thinking about?
Well, my garbage disposal works first off. So I don't know what I would do if it didn't work. Like garbage disposal and dishwasher. I was watching a show. Yes, it's a reality TV show. Let's not get into it. But they were like, "Yo." They were like, "Do you have a dishwasher?" And she was like, "No, I don't either." And I'm like, How do you function in life without a dishwasher? Or a garbage disposal? Nah, bro.
It's wild. Well,
I get done my waffles, man. I either syrup all over the plate. I throw it in the dishwasher. I hit run.
Dude, oh my God. I'm freaking out just hearing you say that.
No. I've not touched a dirty dish other than sticking it into the dishwasher.
I do the dishes mostly at our house. Now that's a recent development. My wife about a year ago said she made some comment about that she hated doing the dishes, and it was like, okay, she hates it. I'm going to start doing it all the time.
Dude, I love that.
But see, this is how Glenn is the husband of the year because I've been like, well, you better get used to it. We got. I got to do them sometimes. You got to do them sometimes. This is just how it works.
But Shorty, to be fully transparent, she does the bulk of the cooking. You put ingredients in front of me and they're just going to sit there because I don't know what to do with them. She does the bulk of the cooking, and so that was kind of our deal. Was she's going to do the bulk of the cooking and I'm going to clean the dishes. Now with that, where I was going with that, Shorty, is I'm as bad as like I try to avoid using like now I don't use my Yetis anymore because I can't put them in the dishwasher. And so now like I'm like, damn, if I use that Yeti, I gotta hand wash this stupid thing. Nope.
which for a like a $100 thermostat or thermostat for a thermos for Yeti, like I should be able to put it in the fucking dishwasher. Like, why is it? Why can't I just put the damn thing in the dishwasher and wash it like every other dish?
That you can't put in the dishwasher.
It'll say on the bottom of it, like, not dishwasher safe.
It's yeah, I mean, you can, but it's just, I think it's one of those deals where the heat of the dishwasher cycles,
dude,
compromises the integrity of like the insulation.
Okay. Listen, I understand the podcast has turned into like GE appliances right now.
I know. Everybody's tuned out. I'm so sorry. There's all these DJs that are like, this dude is the guy that has LaForce Entertainment. What in the world are we listening to?
I think this is why people like us, though, right? I think this is why they like it.
Just like the dryer, the dishwasher should have different settings. It needs like a fluffy setting. You know, it needs like a. It needs like a delicate. Give me a delicate.
Give me a delicate mode. I like it.
Okay. Before we start talking about laundry too, okay, let's move into meat and potatoes here.
So we have to thank the sponsors. That was like a transition to thank the sponsors. Like you go unofficial. Spotify is going to start locking us out, making us listen to an ad.
Bro,
yeah. We'd like to thank everybody at GE Appliances, Lowe's.com, where you can receive 15% off with the promo code DJ Hi Kevin. If
you guys could get that, I would be absolute cheers to you. If you start getting Fortune 500 company sponsorship, like let's go. I'm pulling for you.
Yeah,
we appreciate the love. Don't think it's going to happen. I don't think anyone's from Lowe's or Home Depot is like, I think we're going to give those guys a try.
Seeing as we've already covered that Kevin is leaving things in disrepair at his house, I think they're probably. I don't know. Maybe they would sponsor it. Who knows?
That's because I need them. I need their help.
Here's the thing: like Lowe's and Home Depot should go to Kevin and be like, "Well, hey, your dish or your garbage disposal's broke. Like, we'll give you a free garbage disposal for ads." The issue is we don't have 4 million listeners like Joe Rogan. That's just the kind of little difference there.
That's all I want. That's when we first started this podcast, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a free garbage disposal out of this shit.
I destroyed a garbage disposal in college. I was a dummy and we didn't have one at my house growing up. And my first apartment had one, and I let the spoon go down in there and I turned that thing on. Yeah. So it was not good.
Fun.
Like just destroyed it.
Yeah. I mean, it stopped working.
Couple questions.
My dad, who was handy, came and switched it out. So that was nice.
Like the first, like when you flip it on and you heard the clang, 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 like real quick, you were like, oh shit.
No,
you just were like, I'm going to leave it?
No, I did. I did turn it off pretty quickly, but I mean, it was fully in there. Like it wasn't like kind of sticking down and it caught the tip. Like the spoon was all the way in the disposal.
Oh no.
In college, I sustained on cereal. I ate a lot of cereal, so there were a lot of spoons in the sink.
So you and I are probably the same in the sense that I'm not a great cook either. Like again, ingredients in front of me, those HelloFresh things that I think like you, Kevin, and Demand do. Yeah. And even Demand's explained it to me. Is like, I love when Demand explains something to me. He's like, dude, it's so easy. Like if I can do, like you can do it. I'm like, I can't. I promise you, I can't. I'll burn the house down.
I applaud you for your admittance of being like, I could never do that. There are definitely certain steps that I don't, like I'll jump in like halfway. I do. So Glenn, I'm kind of the same as you. Like when it comes to Teddy, like first off, I'm just so lucky that the girl likes me, let alone wants to marry me. So, at the end of the day, like I'll be leaving meetings and stuff and be like, hey guys, we're at like 39 minutes. So I just need to get in there and start helping her in the kitchen. So if you guys want to stay, you're more than welcome to, but I'm out of here. Like, like I don't mess around because I just feel like I need to help.
Dude, your listeners have seen my wife. I married up. Like I married up. I outkicked my coverage.
That is the funniest way to say that. You outkick your coverage. I had somebody put that up when I put a picture with me and Teddy up. It's so funny.
Well, Nate Nelson said that to me when I met him for the first time in Vegas. We were just talking about Jen and his wife because Jen was there. his wife when we were talking about that, and he used that phrase, and I was like, well, that's weird because with the Cowboys, you guys never outkick your coverage. So
savage. We've been playing well though lately. We've been playing well, but who knows?
Yeah.
I became aware of it when we first started, when we were married, and I started taking her to some industry stuff, and just kind of around with my buddies and stuff. It was just like, wait, the question I would get, wait, that's your wife? It's like, I'm like, yes, I know I understand that it's tough to believe, but yes, that is my wife, and for some reason she does love me and my gingerness. So. Whatever.
I think you're listen, the out of the three of us, the one that should be bashing himself on the show is me. That's my job. I think Glenn, you're a very attractive man. You have a lot of skill sets, which is why your wife loves you as well.
Thank you, but that was still a challenge. Like, my skill sets are they're good for 30 and 40-year-old Glenn. Like, they weren't attractive when I was trying to date 16, 18, 21-year-old girls. I had a very lonely teenage lifestyle. Part of that was, for those of you that met me, I'm 5'9". In high school, when I graduated high school, I think I was 135 pounds when I graduated high school. I was a beanpole. I was just real scrawny. And no attention from girls. And so,
I was a $120 and 5'7". So if you were having issues, I was just in my basement playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever those nerds do. Like, that's where I was in life. So
you didn't even know what you're playing.
I actually, to be honest, I don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is. I just kind of threw it out there.
Speaking of which, Kevin,
I can't imagine Glenn having issues dating. Like,
speaking of basements, I was so awkward then. I still get pretty awkward now. With my.
Don't we all though? Like, all of us as DJs have like awkwardness in us.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And then those of us with ADD, like, we get excited, and it, where it becomes. I wish I would have understood. I didn't get diagnosed till I was an adult. And I wish I would have understood some of this and understood some of these things to know, like, oh, you're hyper-focusing on this person. And when you're hyper-focusing on this person, it's like in the cartoons where the kid squeezes their pet until it's no longer breathing.
Eyeballs pop out.
Yeah, eyeballs are popping because you're hyper-focusing. So I was an awkward kid. I don't blame any of those girls that broke my heart for a day or two.
For a day or two.
I just hope now that they see me on Facebook and Instagram and see that I'm successful and wash dishes for my wife and all the things, I hope they are happy with the choice they made.
Yeah. We're going to tag every single ex-girlfriend you had in this clip.
That's going to be easy because there's not a lot of them. So it's going to be a very short list of tags.
Oh man! Well, so you talk about like your time. We'll just call it like the time in the basement, right? Before we hit any level of success in our independent lives, right? So the time in the basement, I do believe, for anybody that's listening to this at a younger age, that feels like, I'm not making it right now. Like, Glenn, would you say that time in the basement, that introversion time, contributed to the success that you have now?
Yes. For sure. I mean, those feelings that you're feeling, I would tell anybody, like, they're natural. We all feel them in different intensities and about different things. Just because I wasn't an athlete doesn't mean that somebody that was an athlete in high school didn't have, lots of angst about plenty of other things. It's just we're always our perspective is always grass is always greener on the other side, right? It's a way that we deceive ourselves. But no, it definitely fueled my fire. I'm fiercely independent, but I was essentially an orphan. My biological parents lost custody of me. My grandparents raised me. They got me when I was 9 months old and raised me until I graduated and went to college. Adopted me when I was 9 years old, and so. I had to be very independent very early, was, very driven, which I think surprises people because especially here in like Texas, where Baylor is much more of a known name. It's a pretty expensive school, and so people kind of assume that I come from money, or because there's a lot of rich kids at Baylor, and I'm the kid that was there on a scholarship, and my work ethic and mascotting.
Mascotting.
Oh yeah, you were a mascot.
I was.
Yeah.
I started in high school.
This is it. This is where we get into it, right? So
Yeah,
then
baby.
you become a mascot, right? You gain a lot of confidence.
So
Behind the mask.
I quit football sophomore year to do theater because I was spending so much time at practice, standing on the sidelines, not playing.
Right.
And being so small, actually being okay that I wasn't playing. And I was like, I don't want to keep spending from 3:30 to 6 out here standing on the field watching other people play. I'm never going to touch the field. And so I did theater, and I was just kind of, I don't really subscribe to people's social norms. So I was always kind of the wild, crazy person, not really getting in trouble with teachers. My teachers loved me, but I was always willing to make my friends laugh. And my pre-calculus teacher was the cheerleading coach. And so she had me in class my junior year, and she recruited me to be the mascot. And
wow,
I was like, man, me getting to hang out with the cheerleaders all the time, like, yeah, this is a slam dunk. Let's do this.
Yeah.
That did not work out well, like I expected. But that's all I think. No,
dude.
The mascot
Glenn gets the job
out.
and then goes home, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna have so many girlfriends." And then, like 6 months later, he's like, "Wait, what? What?"
Yeah, I definitely realized pretty quickly that I had messed up. Once I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But the first time you get in that costume for 15 minutes and come out just drenched in sweat.
Oh my God!
You completely break down all images of yourself being like attractive and sexy or whatever in those moments, because you were just like, I remember,
so you and I have something in common, because in high school I also, and Kevin doesn't know this, I also wore the mascot for football in the winter.
I was also a mascot in college, so literally all three of us have been inside of a
yes,
costume. Yeah,
we're all three furries. Aspiring furries, because Shorty only got to wear his for a little while.
We flopped.
Well, so I was like, oh, I want to be the mascot, because they would trade. It would be half the football game. It would be one person, half the other. And it was a girl I had a crush on, and I was like, oh, I want to just I want to hang out with her, or whatever. And so I did it for like one night. And again, I like, it was like the end of the night, like, I was there for two quarters, and I literally remember like taking the hat off, and I was like, fuck this, man. It was too hot. Like, I was drenched in sweat. The girl was not attracted to me to begin with. So then, like, once I came out of the costume and looked like a wet dog, like, there was no way I had a shot in hell. So I was literally, for one night, the Travelers Rest High School Devil Dogs mascot. By the way, fun fact, it's the only Devil Dogs mascot in the country. It's the only Devil Dog.
The only Devil Dog. I like it. That's a great claim to fame. My first one was, so I went to North Mesquite High School, and that was the Stallions. It was a blue stallion. And it was funny because it was a blue stallion with like a cowboy hat on top of the stallion and like a bandana around the neck. It was a Western style stallion. Now, Mesquite has a world famous rodeo, so I think that was a piece of it. Went from there to being the Baylor Bear, and then the Baylor Bear to being the Minnesota Timberwolf. I got.
Do we have photos of this? Like,
yeah, I can send Kevin some photos.
We might have to do that.
Yeah, definitely, because you need to see the characters. It would be great to show your listeners the characters, because they are pretty funny.
I mean, essentially, we could just Google the mascot and say it's Glenn. Like, we don't have to actually.
That's true. That's true. There is no way to prove which one is.
So you mentioned that, Shorty. Can you get a picture of you as the Devil Dogs mascot?
Yes.
Well, back in my day, there were no cell phone cameras, so I don't think there's one available. But I could find.
Just go get one of the mascots, Shorty. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Oh,
did you miss the winking?
What the wink was?
Yeah, that's what the seizing winking was.
Shorty, there's no cell phone photos of me. These are going to be pictures that have been scanned or taken of 4x6 that were printed in the Kodak photo huts.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Isn't that crazy? We lived in that era where like we came up where there was like no, like texting cost like 25 cents. You couldn't take a photo of your dick and send it to the girl, in high school. Like there was none of that. What? Kevin, were you mailing Polaroids of your dick?
No, I just hand them directly to her in school.
Well, and to make it even like Shorty, you're absolutely right. Like think about it. The iPhone 14 just came out. Okay, we were talking about this at my office yesterday. Me and my sales team, and the iPhone 14 just came out. And so if you go back, quote, approximately 10 years, they come out with about one a year. So roughly 10 years ago, you're talking about the iPhone 4. And the iPhone 4 was the one that transitioned from the bubble back to more of the flattened out. And think about that. We've been using a similar this for about 10 years. And that bubble back, like you smiled when I said it because you're like, oh, I know what you're talking about. But like, that's a decade old.
Dude.
And there are some people that don't remember at all, have no clue.
And then, so like for the 12, they came back with that flat back, like that true, like hard edge. And I fell in love. And I was just like, finally, like my hand works again,
I mean, we had the Nokia, with the snake on it. Like I would play Snake in class.
My
Motorola's.
My GPA would have been so much better if Snake would not have existed.
Bro, if they didn't put games on the TI-83, I would have been way better off. I spent more time like literally giving people that game and like, the uplink thing that you plugged in the back. Oh my gosh, it was so ridiculous. I spent more time doing that and like getting people the cheat codes for it than anything else in that class. So bad.
I remember putting that game on my calculator, and when it uploaded and it worked, I looked at it and was like, "This is the fucking future!" Like, holy shit! I can what? Like, I can play a game on my calculator. Like, what even is this? And now, like, we've got Nintendo Switches where you can play Fortnite driving down the road at 90 miles. Not driving, but like if you're a passenger.
What will our pocket computers be able to do in 10 more years? Like.
Yeah.
Think of how far they've come.
Right.
Just the 13 to the 14, the camera is a jump from a 12 to a 48 megapixel.
Crazy.
4 times. It's wild to think about what they're going to be in 10 years.
Can wedding photographers at some point just use their iPhone?
I don't think it. Why are we still calling it an iPhone? Is my question. Why are we even like putting the word phone in this? Like, I don't
ever use it as a phone.
Yeah.
It's tough, Shorty, because they technically probably would their pride allow them to, because it would be, I guess, for on the DJ side is, could you ever professional event? Well, could you ever DJ? What if you made it more of? Could you ever DJ a professional event off of Bluetooth?
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a great angle to look at it.
Because you would never, because you don't trust it, right? Not necessarily that the technology couldn't do it, but you don't trust it. And that would be the thing about the phones is like some of it is just the pride of people looking at them, but then it's also you don't trust that lack of control.
Yeah.
The lack of control,
that is crazy that we've gone.
I would never use Bluetooth headphones. Like even when I cut the grass, I don't.
The false image of control, at least.
Yeah.
Really? You don't use Bluetooth headphones when you cut the grass?
No, I still use wired.
What?
I'm just that guy.
Do you have AirPods?
I do. I have AirPods, so like I'll do that. But even then, I don't know. They don't fit my ears right. I'm such a bitch. Dude, I'm such a complaining bitch.
Way.
Like at the end of the day.
I'm jealous. Like Glenn's ears are perfect and they fit. Like I can't use AirPods. I gave up.
He's got that new John though. I think right.
No, these are the Pro. These are the Pro ones. I had the second ones, and they got lost or stolen. So I'm still using the Pro ones. But my kind of everyday headphones. Shout out to Rob Ferre. He turned me on to them. Are the Skull Shocks that they go behind, and they're the bone condensing, so they don't actually go in the ear. They just sit by it and essentially project it into your ears. I love those because I don't like having them in my ears that much either. It gets really uncomfortable. And then the Shocks too are great for like when we go skiing, when we go to the mountain, I can wear it under my helmet and I can still hear the music, but I can also hear somebody yelling, that they're on my left or right, so I don't get killed.
That would be awesome for. I ride a motorcycle, so that would actually be perfect for that too. That's the one thing I'll never wear headphones. Like it's a little lonely, It's like driving. You guys ever drive down the road in your car and not have the radio on for more than 60 seconds? it gets a little weird.
Sadly I do that a lot. I get lost.
Yeah,
I get so lost in thinking about things.
So
Yeah,
I've met a
events.
number after events. You literally voluntarily do that?
Well, so like we had a wedding 3 hours away Saturday, and I had somebody with me, so it wasn't like we were just talking. So we had the radio off, and we were just like talking. But if I'm like solo and there's like where I'm just like, man, I don't want to listen to any podcasts, I don't want to listen to any music, I just want to chill. Yeah, every now and then.
Okay. So I've my one buddy's wife. She said she does this almost like every day. Like a lot of times she just spends time in the car listening to absolutely nothing. I personally think that's like a big check for a serial killer. But so help me understand this a little bit, because so I have really like, and Glenn, I know you're pretty ADHD driven. Shorty, you undoubtedly are. Like so. So like I feel like even when I'm just sitting here typing stuff, like I feel like I need something like not barking in the background, but just like noise in the background. It's like a podcast or, like a show series that I'm not even watching.
So like when I'm here in the office and I'm doing work and DJ EP and the whole thing, like this sounds nerdy, but I'll have like Tim the Tatman, which by the way representing the shirt today, games, and so I have my my Echo. And I just put it on the Echo, and it's just kind of like really kind of low, faint, so like I can kind of see it every now and then. But or if I'm at home working, the TV is on, but I'm not really paying attention to it. But I kind of pay attention. Does that make sense?
You watch somebody. So wait, Shorty, you clarify. You watch somebody stream?
So Tim the Tatman is a gamer for
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I'm familiar with who that is. That's cool. I hadn't thought about that. That's an interesting concept. I don't know if I could do that. There's certain things I can use music for. When I was, my second job out of college was an accountant. And when I was in the accounting world, I was doing taxes. And I used to get comments all the time from the managers and partners because they would come over and I would always have headphones on, be listening to, who knows, rap, Jay-Z, all the things. And I would just be rocking out. And they're like, every time I come over, you got your headphones on listening to music. And I was like, yeah. Because these accountants do not talk, and the silence freaks me out. Like I can't do it. It's weird. I needed the noise, but now the flip side of it, I've had to be. So Kevin, I've had to be better with I have inattentive ADD, so I have a focus problem. Not so much while I do get nervous and jittery, it's not a hyperactivity, and I've had to be better about recognizing, like with the TV on, even if it's something I don't care about, a lot of times it can be just too much of a distraction. I'm jumping in and out of what I'm trying to do too much. I've even like started using less multiple screen time because a lot of times I find for me personally, it's easier if I just give myself a screen. I can lock all of my attention into this one thing. Now, the wild flip side of that, though, is for all of your ADD listeners, when I'm hyper-focused on what I'm doing, then I can listen to a podcast and I can do both. It's that wild thing. But when I'm trying to do email, which is a boring task for my brain, I catch myself trailing off on listening to the podcast, and then I'm like, oh heck, what was I doing over? And you just go back and forth.
Yeah, no, that's it's really awesome that you say that. So I actually have two monitors here, right? So a lot of times I use like the one that I'm on right now, my second one, my white monitor, we'll just call it, because they're literally white and black. But anyway, so I use this one like only when I'm doing Zoom meetings and when I'm doing this, and then a lot of times it stays facing me. And so because it's here, I'll just pull a video up there and just have it going on while I'm doing most of the work on the black screen. So last week after I streamed, I just left my screen facing, because I use this as like my Twitch monitor too. So I just left it facing that way. And I realized I got a lot more done just working off of the one screen. So this is the first time that I've pulled it around in almost a week. And I think I'm just going to start leaving it like that, just because when you said it, that's like what made it sort of click, is just like I only have one 27-inch monitor to focus on versus, two 27-inch monitors that I'm going back and forth. And
I was really hoping that I was going to get to record this with you guys in my new office / micro studio. I've taken, it's a fun little thing, but Kevin, you've been to my warehouse.
Yep.
I actually took the tech closet where the modem, router, and all the Ethernet stuff's happening.
Yeah.
And it's about a 4x4 foot space. And I've bought a standing desk that fits in there, and I'm retrofitting it so that it can be my little ADD fortress of solitude that I can just go in, have a little small coffin to put myself in, and go into the zone. And then the other piece of it for the studio side is I've got I went on Amazon and bought one of those teleprompter things. I'm not using it currently, but so that I can be able to make it so that I won't be able to see myself eventually when I'm doing Zooms and virtual meetings and things like that. Just to help my brain be more dialed in and connected.
That sounds so attractive to me. That when you said 4x4 standing desk space, like I love that, man.
Well, it's supposed to be. I'm trying to make it so that it is a nice, easy space for me to work in, but not comfortable enough that I will get lost and spend 8 to 10 hours in there. Especially killing time, wasting time. I want it to be just uncomfortable enough that it's like, okay, I want to get out of here and get social with my team.
Yeah. So, awesome. Listen, bro, you're killing segues today. This is great. let's talk a little bit more about this team that you speak of.
Absolutely. A lot of them got to come on and be on the podcast. I love it, man.
I know, man. Murtha's on the list.
That's a great one. He was on with me on Friday at my wedding.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. You build this incredible culture. And I did bring a little prop in to just sort of show like how things can get, and you wrote, like, I actually still have your note somewhere around here, to the real KG. I don't know if you remember writing that thing.
I do.
So, I mean, that's one of those notes that I have from you, who I consider a good friend, that I can probably, like, just think about it, and it starts to, like, make me well up a little bit, because I can't even talk about it, dude. But your playfulness, if you remember giving me this thing.
What is this? Can you hold it up again?
This is a little dart gun that Glenn had Murtha like sneak into my luggage somehow. Yeah. I literally have no idea, dude. Like it was.
I can't remember how we found the opening, but yeah, we got it because I was even able to keep it so Teddy didn't know, right?
Yeah, I literally have no idea how everything happened. It was crazy, but Teddy didn't know how it got in.
I went out to DJ Collective, and my team. I went out to DJ Collective because my team was doing the production stuff. And they were like, as soon as I got there, we need water, snacks, blah, blah, blah. So I ran to the grocery store, and I don't know, you and I had talked and had a good connection. You were excited about the things that were going to be happening at DJ Collective. And it's just one of those things that hit me. I don't know. I do wild, crazy things. That's from my mascotting days. Like when I got that high school mascotting job, I didn't know what the hell to do. And I would just take feedback from my fans and just try to find stupid stuff. And like, I found out early on, I took a kid's bicycle. I don't know how. My dad collected junk. Like, he was just a person that collected junk, and he grabbed this kid's bike to give to one of my nieces or nephews. And I'm talking like a 12 or 16-inch wheel kid's bike, not a 20-inch BMX, but a little tiny wheel one. And we scored a touchdown, and I rode it the length of the field. But to do that, I mean, my legs are just like
like churning.
Yeah, because it's only a 16-inch radius. You're not going very far. No. And when I got to the end, I just kind of like laid there because I was exhausted, and the crowd went nuts and erupted. And I was like, okay, this is kind of like Jackass. They like when I do stupid things. I can do this.
Yeah.
And that was probably in the Jackass era as well, which also probably helped as well, Jackass was pretty popular. You know what's funny though is with the gun you just popped up on the video. I just imagine Kevin like rolling through security, and they go through the little whatever they put the bag through, and they're like, "Sir, can you please step over here?" And they haven't opened it yet, and they're like, "Do you have a gun in the bag?" And Kev's like, well, "No, not at all." And then they open
Nerf or nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually hit it. I thought my camera was going to go flying.
So,
that was...
so I was at I was at the store. I got Kevin that Nerf gun, and I got me one, and then I snuck one into his bag and set him up that we were going to have a Nerf War. But he didn't know who was the assassin targeting him, because that was a game we used to play when I was in high school. Our church group would you would get a water gun, and man, such fun times. I wish that culture had not messed all these things up.
Right.
You'd get a water gun and you'd get assigned a person, and it was like a last man standing type game to squirt each other. Yeah. And so I don't know, Kevin and I have some good times together. So Kevin, you're mentioning my note. Did you have something you were wanting to ask about my team, or?
Well, a ton that I know about your team, because we came to visit you in March, right when the mask mandate lifted in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So that was March of 2021.
Yeah,
I think
you guys are 2021. Yeah. Dude, we opened up in like March of 2020. We were just like,
yeah,
it's done. I didn't realize it was 2021 for you guys.
We know you guys. Your heart beat, and then all of a sudden you didn't have COVID anymore. Like that's the way it worked in South Carolina. Apparently,
I decided that was crazy. I didn't know it was 2021.
Yeah. So we were there literally when that lift happened. And you and I had we rode with you a couple times. You still had the big truck back then.
Yeah.
And you got into a really deep conversation when we were stopping off at a grocery store to grab some White Claws or something like that. And so much resonated with me from that I still think about all the time, which is, you talk to your guys and you're like, listen, you're not gonna live in a 3-story mansion or anything like that. You're not going to have 16 bedrooms working at this company. What you are going to have is a very happy, healthy, family-oriented life, if that's what you choose to have. You're going to be a happy person.
Yeah.
And I know you're a very modest guy too. But your team is, you guys spend and Shorty and I talk about this a lot of times off camera, which is that you guys spend so much time together, whether it's being on the boat, you guys do, your summer splash stuff, and you have this incredibly positive, family oriented team. How does one build that? Because we see a lot of people that deal with troubles with that.
I think we see a lot of people deal with that because, if you think about it, at the end of the day, the only groups I can think of are SCE and LaForce that have that kind of camaraderie.
Thank you for including me in that group. Jani is a dear friend of mine and someone who I respect incredibly. I love what the SCE group did. And when I was conceptualizing LaForce, talking to you guys, I remember I'm viscerally there sitting in my dining room at my old house over in East Dallas, looking at SCE's website back in 2010, 2009, whatever it was, and just being awestruck and so amazed by what he was doing. I remember he had that crazy white, and I ended up buying one, that crazy white, all white vanity booth, the big sit-in one that was clean and marine grade stuff, and it was all white. So I love what that SCE inspired a lot of what I wanted to do. It's difficult. The team side of things is, Kevin, I try to set people's expectations so that they're happy, that they can find happiness. Because you're right. It's not that I'm not asking them to choose to be a starving artist or to be broke. I'm just asking them to set their expectations that what we do in the event industry typically is not the path to becoming on the Fortune 500 list. You can go look at the list and yeah, sure. And that's a specific type of DJs. And so for my DJs, Justin Stringfellow, Justin the DJ, we discovered him when he was at the University of North Texas. He had started, organized, and built a DJ group on campus. We put out an application, a call for, we're looking for people. He applied. I remember Ed coming to my office and be like, "Hey, I got this resume. I found this guy." He assisted me. He got assigned to me, and he was my assistant. Kid was phenomenal from the beginning. Justin the DJ is stupid talented. If you're not following him, you should be.
And he's one of the nicest, sweetest people in the world.
Truly absolutely one of the nicest humans you could ever meet. Like everything that you see of him on Instagram, while he is very intentional about his brand and that he uses his orange, like while he's very intentional about his stuff, it isn't fake. Like if you just came to Dallas and spent a week with him, it wouldn't feel any different than his social medias. I remember the first time I let him mix a set. It was probably he did a bunch of weddings with me. I mean, this was when I was still grinding. This is probably 2016 or 17. I'd have to go back and check. And it was when I was probably still grinding, doing 50 to 60 events a year personally. And he was with me a lot. And I probably did 4 or 5 events, like teaching stuff, talking him through, and didn't have him mixing anything. And then I let him mix a set for dancing, and he was phenomenal. And I just on the ride back to the shop, I was like, yeah, so next week we've got a Friday and Saturday event next week. I'm going to send you the music list, and you should come prepared to do most of the DJing. Like he was that good. He was that. I mean, he was undeniably good, and I've told this story. He knows this is him watching this not be the first time I've told him to his face. You know, it was a monumental thing that shifted it. In some ways, it hurt and broke because I had to come to terms with my own skills and all the things. But it was like this amazing moment of like, wow, I have. And I had Nate and Matt Murtha, and at the time, Dom, Peters has come since I'm telling you this story, but I had these guys and I had to realize like, wow, these guys are stupid talented, really good. And I just had to be real. Like, this is silly. Justin, I'm not going to go to an event and have someone with Justin's skills and not let him mix the music. We were a few events in and he's like, hey, can I play an edit that I made, or mix that I made? And I was like, okay. I was kind of leery, and he played it, and I was like, you made this? Like, this is playing, you made this. I mean, and he was just like, innocent, like, yeah, like, I think he was thinking I was like gonna bash it. And I was like, this is fucking stupid. You are incredible, kid. You are absolutely incredible.
I think it goes to show that, and you as the boss, me owning a company, Justin.
I'm not the boss. I'm the team leader.
I mean, you as the right. But what I'm saying is, like, I think that there is always that fear of in other companies, maybe of like, oh, what if my guy gets better than me? Like, good. Like,
that's the goal.
Man, I've always told all my guys, like,
and that's why I'm wired differently. Is that's kind of the goal. So with Justin, it was I learned to have the conversation, and I have it with most of my young DJs now. Is because sorry, you had mentioned Avicii. That was what made me think of it. It was I set their expectation of like, listen, if you want to be an Avicii, a Tiesto, you want to be a producer, you want to be a festival DJ, you want to be a high level whatever, that is awesome. That is a great goal to have. What we are doing here can help you in the event industry, primarily for us in weddings, corporate, and schools. What we're doing here can develop a lot of skills and help you to learn to perform in front of a crowd. But it doesn't necessarily lead to that. It won't prohibit you from that, but that's not the path. And then I just have a real conversation with them as far as what I told Justin was, Justin, if you become that level of producer, DJ, whatever, know that I'm going to be happy for you and cheering for you. Know that is, I also temper all of them with, please understand that there are millions of DJs hacking away at a computer in a basement in their mom's house in an apartment, trying to pop off with these things. And this is like winning the lottery. So it is one part skill, it's one part luck, and sometimes it's just one part a handful of opportunities land at the right time. Because some people are incredibly the most talented, probably the most talented DJ that's ever lived, probably didn't get known, to be famous or anything like that. So I try to set their expectations of that element is really hard. until that happens, are you okay being on our team, doing what we're doing, and making some money, paying your bills, doing events, and if you get, because I make no secret about it. I tell the new recruits, like, if you become famous, I'm going to be cheering for you. I am going to call you at some point and ask if I can come be in the green room, the VIP section.
Just one time.
Yeah, correct. Like, yeah, no, I'm not going to hound them. I'm not going to hound them all the time. And then from there, I'm going to run around telling everybody, especially every DJ that I meet, that, yo, this person was on my team at one point. Like,
started out with horse.
Yeah, like, how amazing is that? Like, what a testimony to who we are. You touched on something else. A lot of DJ company owners are afraid to let their DJs be connected with other DJs, and it's hard because even my own crew, they go to conferences and they're like, yeah, it's having a chat, and somebody was like, trying to essentially talk them out of working with force, and so it happens. Like, it even still happens to my team. It's not that it doesn't bother me. I just ask them to. I ask my DJs. So my DJs are employees. They have W-2s. We have workers' comp insurance, and the ones that hit certain thresholds become full time and have access to 401k and health insurance and all that kind of stuff. So that's a kind of a unique beast. But I just ask them to look at your W-2. Look at the person that is talking to you. And I don't tell them to be rude, but I just look at your W-2, look at the person that's talking to you. Do you think this person actually makes more money than you? And if the answer is no, what the hell are we talking about? Because
it should be a sense of flattery, though, that other DJ companies are, looking at you, looking at your team, going, hey, like, these guys are good. It's also very impressive because you LaForce, SCE, Bun, Uptown, even I'll put them in that category as well with Justin Reed. Like, you guys are now on this path of, to hear the word 401k in our industry 10 years ago, 13, 14, 15 years ago, I think we would have just been laughed and be like, that's funny. Like, yeah, right. That'll never happen. But to now have the fortitude to, and again, I was laughed at, Shorty. That's what drove me. Yeah, I've talked to Nate. By the way, before I ever met you, I thought Nate owned the company for 2 years. I'm not gonna lie, because I had no clue. So a lot of people do. Totally fine with me. Does not bother me whatsoever. Right, but I've had conversations with Nate, and we're in a position now where we're starting to hire more talent, and I'm in a position as an owner where I'm like, I'd love to be at a LaForce level or a SCE level or a Bun, right? And there is that grind to get there, but it's also me having to admit to myself and going, I kind of know what I need to do to train these guys and to do this and that sort of thing. But I'm at the baby stages of this. And you guys, I've seen you guys do kind of your DJ class. I've talked to Nate about that. Was that something that started from the very beginning? Like this whole training, the training process of LaForce? Because it's like, I don't want to give too much away, because like Nate's kind of told me some stuff just between him and I, but there is a course you guys kind of go through, right? There is. And I don't think of it. I'm glad that my team is expressing caution on oversharing, but I don't think of it as like a secret recipe, like, the herbs and spices of KFC. When it started out, it was really, I wanted to quit being an accountant. So I started DJing in college. My friends started getting married. That's how I got into weddings. I never intended for this to be a full-time job, mostly because of the math. Most DJs are good at 8 counts, but bad at math. And I'm really good at math. It is one of my fortes. And I was just very easy to think like, okay, there are 52 Saturdays in a year. There are 52 Fridays, 52 Sundays. I'm not going to book all of them, but there's about 150 working days of premium event days. And realistically, you're only going to get about 100 of them going, and that's going to be a lot. You're talking at 100 events a year. You're doing an event every 3 days, 3 and
some change days.
Right.
And I was just doing the math of like, at the time in college, making $400 or $500 a show. And which is, again, not bad money. Just, I thought about it in terms of, okay, am I going to be able to support? I always knew, because of my upbringing that I shared with you earlier, most people grew up, not most, some people grew up wanting to be a doctor, lawyer. I wanted to be a dad. Like, that was the thing that was really important to me. And so for me, it was like, if I'm going to make $50,000 a year being a DJ, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm not going to be able to support my family the way that I want to. So the math never worked out for me. I was doing other things, did the accounting job, and hated it. I was good. I'm good at I'm good at math. I wasn't bad at the job. I hated sitting in a cubicle for 80 hours a week. And so I knew I wanted to branch out, and I was looking at what was going on in Dallas. Dallas has been a good DJ market for a long time. We had people like Andy Austin, Randall Stout, Tommy Evans. We had a lot of good DJs in the late 90s and early aughts that were really pushing the envelope and trying to drive up, rates and the ideas. Not even so much production, just charging for being a great DJ to try to make it an actual full-time thing. So we had a great market that I didn't fully that I helped expand but didn't fully build. I can't take all the credit. But I was organizing little meetups and going to lunch and dinner and hanging out with those guys, just trying to glean any bit of wisdom and information I could get from them. And I remember a few of them, I was like, man, it would be awesome. Like, we could, what if a few of us went in together and built a high-end multi-op, and we could work together and this and this and that. And pretty much everybody told me that was essentially the stupidest idea, some form of that was the stupidest idea that I'd ever have. Don't waste my time. Won't make any money. Won't do this. Won't do that. And so it's kind of okay, watch me. And so
love that.
Yeah,
I just love that.
Well, and
how are those guys doing today? Like, are they? In all seriousness, are they still around? These guys who you guys are talking about?
Yeah, Andy Austin is still a very high-end DJ in Dallas. Tommy and Randall have both moved on to doing production and some other things. So they're still around in the industry. And listen, by all stretches of imagination, the people that I mentioned are still very successful. But they misjudged me, my determination, and the opportunity in the market. I was just convinced. And so what I did was, it wasn't training. So go back and answer your question, Shorty. It wasn't training. I quit my accounting job. Jennifer told me to quit for 9 months or so. And finally I was just like, yeah, because I was so miserable. I hated waking up every day and going to that job. It was just, there's Clark Kent and Superman, but my Clark Kent was depressing. And on Superman on Saturday, it was an incredible high. And it wasn't going back to a normal life. It was going back to a depressing life, sitting in a cubicle. I was the fattest I had, when I was heavy, because accountants, I worked for the 5th largest firm in the world. And after I left, I figured out that they stocked our kitchen and fridge with snacks and sodas and stuff because they didn't want us to leave. They wanted us to come get a snack, go back to our desk, and do our returns. I thought it was just a nice perk. And then I figured out, no, they're keeping us from going to the 7-Eleven or anything, from leaving and drinking sodas and sitting all day.
It's crazy that businesses, well, it's not crazy, but it's like there are those psychological tactics that businesses will do. So and I'm going to go the radio world here, Kevin. So the Z100 studio in New York, if you ever look at a photo, it's painted lime green, and they say it's because it's happy. And so the second you walk in, you're joyful and happy, and it's supposed to be this happy place. But I've never thought about the food and the snacks. We have food and snacks in our office for our boys to grab after, long.
Absolutely.
Mine is you've worked your fucking ass off.
It's a reward. Dude, it's a reward.
My guys will text me still and be like, "Hey man, is it cool if I go in the fridge?" I'm like, dude, grab what you want. You've worked your ass off. But for your end, it was we don't want you to get in your car, drive out of the parking garage, go to
correct.
They didn't
want you to leave. I had life revolved around billable hours. How many hours? It wasn't did I work 40 hours a week. My goals were set on I had to have it would ramp up and it would be 50, 60, sometimes 70 billable hours a week. Meaning anything that was lost time, administrative time, continuing education I had to do, a lunch break was not time that was counting towards it. So it's just there all the time. So anyways, I had to get out of that life. I quit, and it was originally Glenn Roush Entertainment. And I knew that I had an experience with a photographer that had associates. And the experience was just, I thought that I was going to be working with this. It was my first high-end wedding. It's a really nice venue in Dallas. And I get booked for this nice venue. I'm working with one of the highest end photographers in Dallas. And I called to introduce myself and talk to her ahead of time just to kind of go over a few things. And her assistant lets me know, well, she's actually not going to be the photographer at the wedding. It's so-and-so, her associate. And he has since gone on. He's a great photographer and has since made a name for himself. But I just remember that feeling of that little bit of letdown. And I was like, and I never wanted that for anybody that worked for me. So that was where I was like, yeah, I was like, man, and plus Roush is really hard to spell. I've been dealing with people butchering it my whole life with adding C's and E's and all the stuff. It's a jerk.
Your name is hard to spell? Last name is hard to spell? Come on over here.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry about that. It's at least cool. It means smoke in German. And then LaForce is Jen's maiden name, and I always loved it. I always thought it sounded like "Thank you, sir."
Yes, sir.
It always.
I'm jealous. I'm very jealous.
It always sounded like a luxury car to me. That was always kind of what I thought.
It literally does.
Yeah,
it's so suave.
Yeah, it's French Huguenot, and so I started LaForce, and I went to a bunch of DJs. So the origin story was I took coffee and lunch and dinners with 20 or 30 DJs that I knew around Dallas-Fort Worth. And I was just like, okay, I'm starting this company called LaForce Entertainment. It's going to be X, Y, and Z. And I'd have to have awkward, but I'm a pretty direct person. So it was just I'd find a way to get into it as soft or as direct as I needed to, of you're a great DJ, you're a great performer, you're terrible at the business side, or the business side is not where your happy place is. And I'm going to build this and make that part easy so that you can focus on the part that you like, that you're good at, and that makes you money. And I had 10 guys. I'd had 10 guys that said yes, and a whole bunch of people that, again, like I said, laughed at me, told me it would never work, all the things. And that was how we started and launched. And then a few years, probably 3 or 4 years, 2010, launched in 11, and in 13 or 14, we started teaching and training our own DJs. Mostly because, for those of you that follow Mike Walter, he explains it well too. It's really hard for people to unlearn bad habits unless they are ready to, unless it's something they want to. We've had DJs with experience that come to work for us, and some have been wonderful experiences. Some have been terrible experiences. Learned a lot. Most of the terrible experiences are people that aren't coachable, aren't teachable. And so, I wanted to train and develop DJs and make this it always bothered me that this was so hard to be a full-time job. That part it just kind of ate at me. So that's part that I try to solve.
There are so many, our industry, for so long has been, I think that there was just always this stigma of, you can't, you can't do, like you were saying, the guys that you talk to, they're like, what the fuck? Really? You want to do this? This isn't going to work. And I think it's I don't know how to explain it, but for so long, the wedding industry was this almost cheesy, there's the guy that went out there with the bow tie and he was like, everybody, it's time to play a game, and he's got the circus music playing in the background, a fucking elephant, it's it's a whole thing. And I love the fact that, again, guys like you and Bun and Jen, I have literally made this business finally look still cool. Like we still party, we still have a fun fucking job, but like it looks and feels so much just legit. I don't even. I'm like my brain's my ADHD is now kicking in because there's so many words
I know
up here
exactly
and I
what you're talking about, man. It's funny. I've been clean out that to make my little ADD fortress. I've been having to clean stuff out of there. I've been cleaning up the old office, and I found a box of ties that I had ordered from some company that does ties, and I'd ordered a bunch of ties that were a similar design, and I've still got a few in there, and I got to go back and find that now, but the invoice for that, but like I did that at a certain point, and they came in, and the box is still like half full because I remember getting them in, just being like, I don't like this. I don't like this idea that, first of all, I'm telling people what to wear and having to coordinate that piece. And that second of all, like the idea
we did that for a while.
Yeah. And a lot of DJ companies did. So, and I was definitely tempted with it. But I realized how quickly that spiraled into a cookie cutter place of complacency. There's nothing interesting. It wasn't exciting. Like it wasn't, it just was like, I don't want to just build something that's just spitting out, just an event for the sake of spitting out an event.
Wow.
Yeah. I also, going back to your training, kind of model, Nate hasn't like just said like here's what we like, he hasn't like popped up on the screen and showed me everything, but he basically kind of walked me through it, and I was kind of listening to it, and then I saw kind of your Instagram stuff of you in the office. I think like 2 weeks ago you guys are doing your training stuff, and I share an office with a photographer and a videographer as well, and I was talking to Nathan about it, and I was like, that's the part I'm kind of struggling at. And Nate's kind of been helping me a little bit as far as just like, Nate was like, I'll help you get started. And I even told Nate, I was like, I'll pay you to sit on Zoom with my guys and, and whatever. Same thing with Justin. And Nathan, who's in our office, he was like, dude, he goes, why aren't and like his brain starts running and he goes, they need to create a class. And I go, what? He goes, listen to me. He goes, they've got this syllabus thing. He goes, they need to record the videos. And he goes, they need to sell this course. And he goes, how much would you pay for it? And I was like, I'd pay Glenn like $1,500 for the course. And he goes, you'd probably pay more. He's like, if there's more, more elements to it. He's like, if you could fly out to the, like now his brain's just like, he's like got foot on the gas, 100 miles an hour. And he thinks like that as well. Like he will take this idea and just blow it up. I think truly, Glenn, and I mean this, I think you and Nate, because I know you guys have worked on this together, it could come up with something where like, hey, this is week 1. This is what we do. This is what it looks like. This is week 2, et cetera, et cetera. Glenn, 100%, I would send you a fucking PayPal payment today.
I appreciate that. I'll give that some thought. I
just want a LaForce shirt out of it though.
The LaForce shirt's an easy fix. That's an easy fix. So here's the thing. I think that would only go so far. So first of all, I want to give a massive shout out to David Osborne with the Blueprint, because he has built something very similar already, and he has a background in teaching, and it's his passion. He's good at it, and that program is really good.
Does it touch on what you guys, like what I'm talking about and what you guys do? Because I know a little bit about David. David lives only like an hour and a half from here.
Yeah, he's just down in Athens. It touches on a lot of stuff. Now, I think where I kind of push back on you, Shorty, is I think the fallacy in that kind of approach is, while we could standardize some stuff, it's that every DJ, every individual is going to have a little bit different skill set and a little bit different need. Sure. And I think there's a lot of, we're really more of a, what's worked for us is a more of a apprentice mentor program, to have somebody be able to, because being coached is a big thing, and being able to, it's an area that I feel like I excel at, and being coached and being able to somebody to tell you, like I was coaching one of my friends and DJs this morning on some life stuff that he's going through, and I had to be like, okay, I need to tell you something. I need to tell you something that is going to feel painful and feel harsh, but I need you to know that it's coming from a place of love, and that it's coming from a place of love because it was something that, it was I was giving him some marital advice and some stuff for the significant other, and it was I had to give him the real on, like, you are hurting your person. You're saying this is your person. You're hurting them, or you have hurt them, and they are willing to forgive you and willing to seek to heal, but you can't expect, like, I had to put his perspective. So the illustration I used was, he's not an ER surgeon. Like, this isn't stitching up a knife wound and you just got to let the skin heal. This is, you guys blew out your ACL, and you got to work on first of all addressing it, and then you got to walk. You don't try to run. You walk. You work. Yeah, you do therapy. You work on walking. You work on balance. You work on endurance. You do all these things before you try to run.
That's gold, dude. I'm just like super impressed at that analogy. I love just the comparisons like that. That's very strong.
And so Shorty, that to me is the thing, is I don't want to just produce. I don't want to just have 1,000 DJs across the country that are doing the same thing in cookie cutter. I love what we do. I want to make, even if it's I've got approximately 30 DJs on my team. I want to have great DJs that are, whether it's 10 or 100. I want to have great DJs that are successful, that still meet our mission statement of being able to support themselves and to grow and to develop into other things. So I'll think more about the program, but it's a very different beast, man.
Then I will pay for, like, if you just don't want to sell it again, I will pay for it. I bet that.
Shorty, to compare it to something that you definitely know a lot about, it's like syndication. If you want someone in Texas to coach somebody in the Bay Area, but also coach somebody in New York City, like, that's where I think that not that it would lose its intent, but it would definitely lose its, like, true power.
Right,
which is what they have
Texas and New York City 100% are totally different. Right.
Yeah. So like this, the same arguments that everybody has about one radio host talking in on the West Coast and the East Coast. Right. It's like where you have to keep everything so broad, unfortunately.
Unless you're Ryan Seacrest, and then
unless you're Ryan Seacrest and you're just a legend.
And Kevin, that was the other feeling I had about the idea of it, is that there's a internal fear of taking what we do that is listen, I'm doing it to make money, but it's good and pure in the fact of that I want it to be a benefit to others. I worry about, like, that getting into the wrong person's heads and mind that is going to take and launch an office in a major city and use it to essentially ruin the DJ market. Because for me, if DJs don't make money and if DJs aren't creative, if it's not interesting, same thing with events. Like, my main objection to wedding factories is that if all of the weddings are the same, people are going to lose interest. They're not going to care. And because it is a special experience, we're coming together. People are coming together to celebrate these two people that they love. And so the factories that, like, do the same thing over and over, it just doesn't appeal to me. So I'm like, I don't want to ruin what we do. I want to make what we do better. And that's the hard part, is keeping it out of the wrong people's hands. So we're trying to expand in Texas, into some other cities. Whether we go beyond there, I don't know. But we're not. I don't think everybody should be worried about, like, we're coming to take over the world of the city near you or anything like that. I'd actually counter the argument of, you talk to the other DJs in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, while they may hate losing events to my team, we don't flood the market. Like, I've had competitors compliment me that I hope he doesn't mind me naming him, but Rod Baker, who is a very smart DJ and a very intelligent entrepreneur, has specifically said thank you to me. And it was an incredible compliment because he said, Glenn, you have the ability to flood the market with DJs and ruin the whole thing. And he said something along the lines of that's the true sign of good leadership and power, is that you have the power and you don't use it. And I don't want to flood the market with DJs and just ruin the whole thing, because it would hurt everybody. Nate and Justin, Peter, people that I care about would suffer. Even if I could go on and go do other things, they would suffer.
So let's talk about, you were talking about DJs and kind of how everybody's booked in that process, because you said your DJs kind of will lose events with other DJs in your company, because you guys are all basically a brand within itself. And I've equated this a couple times to Kevin and I talked about this, where it's almost to kind of relate it to you guys in Dallas, like Kid Craddock and the station that they're on, right? Kid Craddock's its own personality.
R.I.P. Kid Craddock.
Show, right? Yeah, I mean, R.I.P. to Kid Craddock, by the way, because he was one of the best radio hosts in the freaking world.
But that's a great example, Shorty, because syndication ruined his show.
Well, what I'm talking about is whoever's on Kiss FM in Dallas, there's all the people that are on the air. They're their own entities. When I was on the air, I was my own personality, my own brand.
And so you still are that, because you still put Radio Shorty stuff on Facebook, which is cool to see.
For sure. And there may be some things that are happening in the next weeks. But anyway, little tease there. But I was nobody without the actual station. I would have not been anywhere without the station. And so your guys are nowhere without LaForce, whereas I think LaForce is nowhere without those guys. They're kind of, and all of your guys have a pretty good social media presence as well. Like Nate Nelson and Justin and Matt, you guys all have this desire and fire to flood social media. But you were saying that your guys could lose events within the company. Is that correct?
No, I was mentioning that. I was mentioning that my competitors are probably not happy that they lose events to us.
Okay.
Because it's a weird dynamic, I think, for most of them, that of the probably the 10 most expensive DJs in North Texas, probably at least 5 of them are on my team. Right. And so I think that most DJ companies are so used to poo-pooing on the big guy, because it's I don't want to name them because I don't need anybody lighting me up with cease and desist, but it's those big faceless conglomerates that they launch, they're just it's just a website to them, essentially.
Yeah. They're a complete waste of time. Yeah.
And so it's kind of a mind fuck that they're losing events, and that they're losing events not because of that we're underbidding them. On the team, right. They do lose out. So the gist of your question is, we lose events to each other. The nice thing with the sales being, most of the leads and sales being handled by our internal office team, they're a little bit insulated from it. They know that, they see when a lead drops off of their DJ event planner, but they don't necessarily have to get into, I lost that one to Dom, or I lost that one to Peter, or whatever. And on some level,
doesn't it make them work harder though?
I don't know, because a lot of the people that we're talking about, especially the top third or half of my team, is incredibly driven already. Right. And so I do think it makes it work harder, but the alternative, the better piece is that it makes them less competitive, in the sense of it makes them less, not competitive, because, someone like Nate is a natural competitor. You you go to a mini golf place with him and wager $10 on a hole, and he's in. Part of it because he's a degenerate gambler. Part of it, no, I'm kidding. He is an
$11,000. Let's always remember that $11,000.
I love that kid. But like Nate, for an example, we were at Barton Springs before one of our float trips a few years back, and one of my production guys and him have just a funny, healthy relationship rivalry. And that kid swam in high school, and Nate challenged one of them challenged the other one to a race. Nate whooped him, first of all, but second of all, like that's just who Nate is. Like, let's go. Like, you want to do this? Right. You want to compete? Let's go. So I've got a lot of natural competitive people, but so I'm clarifying. It's not competitive. It takes away the combative piece because they care about each other. They want to be better. Last night after DJ school, they stayed around and talked. It was, there was a circle of me, a couple of our new people, Dom and Nate, and a couple other people floating around, and we were talking about, Nate and Dom's streams that they and reels and stuff that they had captured from the last weekend. And I actually had an extra DJI mic, so I was like, "Oh, Dom, you got to take this little DJI setup and record this for your lives this week." And then Nate's teaching him, okay, here's what you're going to do. He's like, man, why don't you try? And so we try to help each other because it's not combative. And that's, if for anybody that's trying to instill that into their team, that's an absolute free nugget for you guys to have. I talk to my team about the fact that we hunt as a pack. And that's really the choice that I put to anybody that's talking about coming and joining our team is you have, especially if they have previous DJ experience, you've spent some form of time being a hunter, and that is a good thing. You're a hunter and a performer. And it's not that you're not going to hunt here. It's that you're going to understand that every Saturday that we have events, we're going to have 30 events going on a Saturday, and your event may be the one that gets that's 80 people and you're excited about it. But as the guests start rolling in, you realize that the couple forgot to mention that everyone that they know or are related to is almost ready for AARP. And you're like, what the hell? And so the hunting analogy for me is you may not generate many referrals or leads on that event. Just on that event, not in life, but just on that event, because there may not be many people that get married. So for you as the hunter, you may come back empty-handed or with a squirrel, and Peter may have had 400 people, and the couple may have just recently graduated from college. All their friends are still single and young, and Peter kills an elk and brings that back to the table. And you got to know that
it's for everyone.
Yeah. Well, and when people call from that wedding, they're going to ask for Peter, and our sales team is going to, oh yeah, let me check. Sometimes Peter's going to be available. Sometimes Peter's not, because of how I get them to focus on, if we're working a lot of events, it becomes less about how the referrals are. We're not taking referrals away from our DJs, but it becomes less about that and more about keeping everybody busy and everybody working as much as they want to. And so when my crew gets that, and that's really where we succeed, is that my team understands that we get to win and succeed and hunt together, which also takes some pressure off of them on, like, the other piece of being an event DJ that I always hated was the pressure of feeling like you have to work 52 Saturdays a year. Like that's, like you're like, damn, if I lose a Saturday, that's it's 1/52 of potential earning income.
Right.
So I like not making that the thing, that it's not that you have to work every single weekend to hit your financial goals.
Yeah. Well, I feel like for the longest time, everybody thought they needed like that New York hustle of like trying to turn anything into like 5%, 10%, like trying to find money anywhere you could.
Yeah.
But so then we've talked a lot about SCE here. Are like you guys, we know Nick Spinelli blew up beyond all recognition, basically.
Wow.
Right. In just a couple TikToks, but he's kept going. He has never stopped this. And actually, you see now Demand doubled his Instagram followers in a couple months because of a little bit of a connection there. But like Spinelli is feeding every single person on that SCE team. And you know, like as one of his old buddies, I talk to him about it all the time. Like, dude, you have completely changed from the person that a lot of people thought you were going to be, which was sort of, he had that very hungry, you know, like going out, handing out mixtapes to bars. Like I rode in the car with him when he did that, you know, like doing that stuff, but now seeing it transfer into this, you know, like, yo, let me help feed every single person on the SCE team. That's crazy. You know, like his
by the
trickle
way,
down mentality.
Nate Nelson has a video with 1 million views. He just hit it a couple weeks ago, so he's up there as well. Nate,
Right.
So Glenn and Nate were in Greenville a couple weeks ago, here in South Carolina, which is the Carolina that I live in, Kevin. The South.
Yeah, I know
South
which one
Carolina.
it is. It's the bottom one.
Yeah, it's the bottom one. It's where Myrtle Beach, Charleston,
Bottom
Greenville
Carolina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Nate's like, you know, I think at the time that reel was at like 50, 60,000 reels or views, and now he's just locked in. Like it's like a drug to him. And he's like, I gotta get another one. So literally we're headed to dinner downtown and we'll talk about the waitress in a second. And we're in the car and we're waiting for Justin Reed and you guys to get in Justin's car. And Nate and I, we look at each other. He's like, oh, it's like 60,000. I look at him, I go, we're supposed to reel at the same time, and like who gets more views like at the end of dinner. So he's like, yeah, you're on. Like that's where the competitive of Nate was. Is like there was no money, there was views. And so like
thank you for clarifying, because that's what I meant. It's not necessarily I made a joke about him gambling, but it's really just like you could bet him $1 or pride and he's in because he's that much of a competitor and an amazing competitor. And that team thing, you know, Kevin, you're touching on some good stuff there. You when you think about like the brand thing, it's as simple for me when I talk to my team as, you know, do you think of Michael Jordan as a Washington Wizard? No. I mean, you know, he played there. Like now that I said it and you're like, yeah. And for most Jordan fans, you're like, yeah, I try to forget that, but yes, he did play there. Right. When you think of Jordan as a Chicago Bull. And he made the Chicago Bulls more famous, more elevated, much more of a brand, even to this day. And he was still the GOAT.
But the Chicago Bulls also helped that with him as well. I think
totally.
It goes hand in hand.
And for a company like SCE or Full of Force, that's kind of what I'm trying to go for. Is like, listen, you can be Justin the DJ. You can be the mic. Like, I'm not trying to take away your identity. You know, but I want you to recognize that Steph Curry, without being on a team like the Golden State Warriors and without having some infrastructure to help the process of making money, is just a street hustler on a basketball court, without some of the other resources. He's incredibly talented. I know that's kind of a bad example. Please don't flame me too badly, people. But there is an element of, you know, greed is bad. You know, part of our country's problem right now is that we need to be better about recognizing that greed is an issue. Like, we make it about like stupid things like color of skin and all the other things. And a lot of times we really need to dig in on greedy people. The very wealthiest have so much control over the other 90 some odd %. And I give my team real I'm like, guys, regardless of what you think about like rich people, they're like Jeff Bezos has, you know, if you think I'm wealthy because I own a home and a company, like the disparity between me and Jeff Bezos is insane. And you got to like, but people want.
You don't have 17 jets. You don't have 17 jets parked.
I don't have 17 jets or a super. But when you hear people talk, and not your friends, but when you hear knuckleheads talk on the news, this is not red versus blue. This is green because we're talking about money. When you hear people talk on the news, they would take somebody like me and lump me into the 1%. Not that I'm in the 1% of income earners, but I'm a 40-year-old white male that has a successful company. I fit into the talking point. And it's like, wait, freeze. Like, we are not the same. Like, the cost of food going up is absolutely affecting me. Like, I am not the same as these people. I don't have a PJ. I don't have any of that cool stuff. And part of why I'm successful is because I spend a lot of money on my team, on paying my team, on the things for my team to keep them happy. I love them. And so there's that element of it.
Yeah. No, that's very clear that you love your team, and like you do live in a beautiful home.
Thank you.
But
it's also a 60-year-old house.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's sort of what I was gonna, like it's a humble home.
Don't. Here's the thing too. Don't, because I feel like because you just say you're like, oh, it's a 60-year-old house. Listen, Glenn, if you went out and bought $1 million home that was built yesterday, like, what is that noise?
Sorry, it's my Tito's in a can.
Oh, I didn't know what that was. Are you drinking? Wait, we're not. I'm not drinking. Damn it.
Well, I've actually got coffee in it, but this was my way to keep it insulated. Is Tito's in a can.
Nice. Can you dishwash that?
I don't know.
I mean, garbage disposal.
I guess Shorty would, but
I would in a heartbeat. I would not wash that thing manually. Manually,
throw it out if you don't need it.
But Kevin,
if you bought a home yesterday, right? If you bought a home yesterday, it was $1 million. It was built yesterday. Like, I look at it like, Glenn, you deserve every bit of that because you hold every ounce of weight of your company on your shoulders. The IRS could come after you. Your accountant could come after you. The fucking, if and this would never happen, but a fucking speaker catches fire and burns the building down. Like, every single
very real
ounce
stresses.
Of responsibility is on you.
Very real stresses.
So if you pull up in a private jet, bro, I just want a seat. That's all.
But no, I won't have a PJ. First of all, I'm not on that kind of trajectory to have that kind of wealth.
I know because I drove you to the airport at 4:30 in the morning, so yeah. I know you do not have a private jet.
And it's that. But guys, that's one of the things that I do differently that I'm willing to do to be successful. Is that most DJ companies are set up so that one person at the top makes either a full-time living or all the money. And I'm not faulting anybody that's working for somebody that's just a single one-off owner. Remember that person is probably, it's easy to see them as like banking and just living this great life when, as Shorty talked about, I stress all the time. I have a big payroll. I have insurance. I have a lot of things that cause me a lot of stress. And I under normal circumstances, it would probably break me or break a normal person. I'm wired different, and so my grandparents that raised me. My grandfather was born in 1930, 6 months before the market crashed, Great Depression in Oklahoma. So if you've seen the Grapes of Wrath, the Dust Bowl, like it was bad. So he grew up with nothing, a lot of teaching me to be very financially conservative, very afraid of debt and all the things. And so I started working when I was 12 years old. And then from there, as I've progressed, I've made intentional decisions like, when I bought houses, I almost, at least the last two houses I bought at both of those junctures, the realtor and the mortgage person were like, oh, I can get you pre-qualified for a mortgage, much larger than what you're looking at. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be house poor. Nope. That's not my thing. For those of you that follow me on socials. Yeah. I'd like to have a garbage disposal. Well, Jennifer and I prioritize traveling. So for those of you that follow us on socials, Jen and I like to travel. That's kind of our thing. And so for us, it was always, if we bought the big fancy house or had the new cars all the time, that $500 or $1,000 a month difference translates to a lot when it comes out in the wash. And we would rather go places and have experiences than have the nicest house on the block and all those kind of things. And then the other side is it's equipped me to be, I have a lot of fears, but I don't have a lot of fears of like someone, not that they couldn't supplant me on the DJ side, but just like most DJ company owners are not willing to make the sacrifice that I've made. So I'm not like looking over my shoulder like, oh, somebody's going to come build a DJ company like mine with 50 people, because most people aren't willing to do what's necessary to get to this point because it's not glamorous. the risk is scary, and it's come with a lot of personal sacrifice, time, energy, and also giving up money that I could have diverted. People get greedy. It's a natural, like, I have to constantly fight it off in myself too. And so that's part of the challenge to work through. But
wow.
I think that's why I don't get, I think that's why I don't get asked to speak at DJ conferences very much, is because like, I'm not an inspirational.
They're like, wait, we didn't want you to say all that. What?
Yeah. They don't want the real. But also it's not sexy. It's not, it's not de-inspirational, but it's not inspo. And that hurts though. Like it hurts to be like, I don't know, not at the top of your game, but it hurts to be successful like this. And for the DJ conferences, they don't ask me. They just ignore me. It's wild. It's weird to me. It's like, who are you bringing? And that's what makes me skeptical of a lot of them. It's like, who are you bringing in if I'm not even getting a consideration?
Yeah, bro.
But
here, look, man. I obviously didn't know much about you until the pandemic. I think once the pandemic happened, we were all in our houses, and I met Kevin on Twitch, and I met Nate, I think, on Twitch as well. And so meeting you in person, and even before meeting you in person, like Justin Reed, who's in my market, who's one of my competitors, but is also one of my best friends. I've known him for 20 years. He said to me, I think we had lunch like the week before you guys came. We were just like talking, and I was like, never met Glenn. He was like, dude, he goes, you don't understand what you're in for. He will fly back out, and you will reassess how you even just live life. And it's true. So you came in to help Justin in Uptown with his, they're kind of moving more in the AV route. And I've always had this conversation where I've said, I want nothing to do with huge trussing and what it is that LaForce does on the AVN and what it is that Uptown is embarking in on the AVN. And I told him, I said, any AV gear event that comes through my inquiry source, I'm sending directly to you. Like, I don't want this. It's just not what I want. But
good.
You
recognize what makes you happy.
Yeah, I just don't. That's not what makes me happy. And I definitely will send all that to him. You guys did your event that day. And then I met you guys down at Justin's office, and we were in his office, and you guys were talking about the client that he had worked for, that you guys had worked for. And I just remember, like, Nate was working on something on the computer. Justin was kind of standing there talking to you, and I could see like you were listening, but you were like, I could see your brain moving.
Yeah.
And I was just like sitting there, and you were like, Justin, you should do next time? And he's like, what's that? And then you rattled off the most epic just business paragraph I had ever heard. You're like, yo, so like if we do this again, you should buy. And then you just were like I could just tell, like, your brain is always moving. You always have these ideas.
So on Justin's event, we won't share the client just to protect, but on Justin's event, he was trying to stream. They were streaming multiple locations. It was a company that has multiple locations across the Southeast. They were trying to stream in, connect their employees for a new grand opening. And they were trying to also connect their CEO or owner or whatever he was. And he was in Switzerland or Austria. There you go. Thank you. He was in Austria.
We don't want to say who he had lunch with, right? Before
he was having lunch, or no, he was having dinner because it was nighttime. He was having dinner with a billionaire that owns a major retailer that you have in all your cities. And anyways, we're trying to patch this guy in, and because of the way the stream was working, he got this guy is in his 70s and very low tech. I mean, he's like holding the phone like like this. Like it was what you think about when you FaceTime with your grandpa.
Yeah.
And anyways, he got disconnected mid speaking, and so they had to reconnect him, and his phone number ended up being on the screen, on the display.
Oh no.
They got Justin and Nate and them got it fixed very quickly.
Right.
But it was up there briefly. And Justin's client he'd been working with the HR manager. And so I know what you're talking about, Shorty. I was just sitting there. I was like, okay, Justin, here's what you're going to do. Because we had the video. I was like, okay, you're going to take this video. We're going to download this. You're going to cut out the video from that. And we're going to get it. We're going to finish it. You're going to upload it. And then you're going to reach out to your HR person in the morning and you're going to say, okay, hey, listen, just to follow up. I know that we had Mr. CEO's phone number on the screen yesterday. We've already done X, Y, and Z. This doesn't exist anywhere. I just want you guys to be, I just want you sleeping easy knowing that your CEO's phone number isn't on YouTube, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, you're going to do this, this, and this. And she's going to love you because that's her fear. She's in HR. And sure enough, I don't know whether he took all the steps, but he got an in-house account. So some of it worked.
Yeah, I talked to him last week, and I haven't seen him in a week and a half, and I was like, "Yo, man, what is going on with my camera? Hold on, sorry."
It's okay.
It looks fine over here.
I'm getting a phone call. So
the problem, Shorty, is it doesn't shut down. Like my brain is always going at that speed, and Kevin, we talked earlier about ADD. You were actually with me when I discovered quasi that I had ADD. We were in Tampa together for DJ Collective 2, which Brian, Joe, Jan, I love you guys, but DJ Collective 2 Tampa was the best one.
Still the best one.
Still the best one.
Tampa might not exist after this week, but yes. So
good point.
Ooh, yeah.
RIP.
But we were in Tampa together, and I did not realize this, but because I thought it was Vegas, but Tampa is the dancer capital of the world. And so we were going between clubs, and I remember we were walking down the street in Tampa, and I was talking about being a little bit tired, and a friend that was producing the event offered me an Adderall, and I was like, I've never taken it. Like, I
haven't either.
And I'm pretty because drugs and alcohol are what ruined my biological parents' lives, and so I'm very cautious on the things that I put in my body. I didn't drink until I was 22 or 23. Trying cannabis at 35 is a funny story too. But she offered it to me, and I was like, well, and she's like, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me try it. And I took like half of one. I took like maybe a 5. And I take it. We go to another bar. We're bar hopping. We go to another bar. We're there for not very long. And we start walking to another place. And I just remember walking down the street, and I was like, wait a minute, guys. Is this like, you guys like, is this what y'all normally feel like all the time? Like, you don't have 1,000 voices going at one time? And they all looked at me like, the hell are you talking about? And so then I had to go to her, and I'm like, this is wild. Like, I can focus. Like, and at the same time, we were dealing with some stuff with my oldest son. He has ADHD. He's hyperactive. He's smart as hell, but he's hyperactive. And we were getting him tested. And so we were going through some play therapy and some stuff. And we're sitting in the play therapy class, and I'm like, I think I have ADD. And she's like, oh, you for sure have ADD. And so I went and got tested. But yeah, trying an Adderall randomly, I was just like, it was amazing the way for those of you that don't have it, and I know that you see a lot of YouTube videos and hear a lot of stuff that makes you be led to believe that it is fake, but I assure you that it is not fake. You give me stimulants, and my brain functions differently, and my ability to focus and lock in and do what needs to get done is completely different, which is wild.
Yeah,
Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's super frustrating. So I wasn't diagnosed until I dragged my own feet into the doctor's office and had everything done. Like the true testing of it all, because frankly, my parents had bought into the Kool-Aid, of like, this isn't a real thing. You're just not focusing. Government.
It's diet. It's blue number 1. It's sugar. It's all the things.
Like, I have lived in your house this entire time. I'm not saying that what you have done to me has caused me to be distracted. I'm saying that there's something going on up here that I just needed help with, and I wish I had gotten it earlier. However, I also think it turns you into the person that you are. So like I drug my feet into the doctor's office, got prescribed and everything. I've actually, ever since COVID, gotten off of my meds, which has been pretty cool. Because as focusing as they are, sometimes they take away a little bit of your emotions, unfortunately, because you get so hyper focused into stuff. So there's a real balance of, there's such thing as way too much medication for ADD or ADHD, and
yeah, Kevin. So I came into it with kind of that fear and concern, and I worked with my psychiatrist around it to get excuse me. So what I do is she prescribes me 10 milligrams of Adderall, and I think my Vyvanse is an extended release. It is an extended release, and it's a 20 or a 30. It's something. So I've got pretty low dosages for an adult,
Right.
and I use them. We worked it out because I kind of like you. When I don't need to sit down at a desk and do emails and stuff like that, I'm fine. I'm okay. And so I use mine strategically. So to take the extended release to kind of cover, I usually take it around my lunchtime so that it helps me to be in a good zone whenever I'm picking up the kids. And I've got to, it takes me all the way from lunch until I get the kids to bed. And then I use the Adderall just as a spot wherever in the day I'm going to be doing my heavy office work, that 2 or 3 hours that I need to be able to dial in, I've got a nice, just a dosage that's going to take me to a spot where I can boom, and then it's going to drop off and go away. There's a lot of things you can also do around your lifestyle, like we talked about with the focus and helping it to help your assist yourself. And then, for me and Kevin, if you and Teddy choose to have kids, it's, and that's, I don't mean this from a place of pressure. I just mean this from a setting your expectation. Like if you decide to become a father, like you have to know that genetically the male passes it on. And so you have a strong likelihood that if you have kids that they are, have a higher chance of having it. And then for me, like with Deason, I'm already having to in light ways, helping him understand addiction. Because that's the biggest thing that I think that isn't talked about enough with ADD is how quickly and easily it leads to addiction. Because so many things give dopamine. Like Shorty, for you and I have to be cautious with how much I play. I love Call of Duty, but I have to be cautious with how much I play it because I can just be in the zone and I had to turn on. I know they annoy people, but I actually had to turn on the notifications for the time on my Xbox because I needed something to pop up and say, you've been sitting here playing for 3 hours. And for me to be like, oh, this is not a good thing.
I don't, because it's funny you mentioned that because Demand and DJ Daly and I were all on last night, and you can go to your settings to see how many hours you've played the game. I'm a little embarrassed to even say. I don't want to say it.
Okay.
Because it's since COVID to today, it's fuck it. I'll just say it. So we were all looking at ours, and Demand and Daly and I were looking at ours, and Daly was like, "How what is yours saying?" I was like, "Since I downloaded the game, 35 days, 18 hours and 7 minutes."
No, so first off, that also tracks the time that you spend. If you left your Xbox or whatever PlayStation on overnight, it counts that time too. So yes,
I always leave my.
It's not just playing; it's screen time because
logged in, but it would be logged. You'd have to be logged into the Activision server. That is
but I usually just leave it on.
I don't know. I think you should Google that to get the clarification and see if Nate was on here, he would be more focused on how many wins do you have. Let's talk about let's compare wins.
That would be a good thing to do. It's do an average game time of the game, see how many wins and losses you have.
But Shorty, let's bring this the other way though. Wait, pause though, because I think that you are in a good spot of recognizing okay, I've spent a lot of time on here, probably a time that when you see that number, I hope that it gives you at least a little bit of uncomfortableness in the sense of not that it's so much a bad thing, but okay. should I be spending some other time on some other things, even if it's just making sure that like, your health is in a spot headed,
Well, and that's what I thought about. So because I get on later, so it's not like I'm on, all day. I'm at work, I'm at the office,
Right.
I'm doing my thing. And then, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, like we'll hop on. But, you hop off at like 2:30 in the morning, and then you're getting up at, 8:30, 9 a.m., 9:45. Like, you're like, I'm not, my sleep schedule's all off. I'm eating terribly. Like, there's a whole thing that kind of plays into it.
But I would challenge you. The thing where I was going to bring up, Shorty, is like that doesn't take away from, it doesn't take away from the good that has also come out of some of that stuff. And
oh, totally.
If we were, some people would have trouble wrapping their brains around it because of their feelings towards violent video games and blah, blah, blah. But like Call of Duty, Warzone, having that outlet, that connection in 2020 to have other male interaction was truly, it was one of the handful of like things that I could list off in 2020 that saved my sanity. Because it was so, for people like us that are so social and so used to being out in groups and at events and stuff like that, it was incredibly depressing to be stuck, to feel stuck. And I just remember,
well, Nate would do those Warzone Wednesdays where we would have 40 DJs just, or however many can fit in like a thing, and you would all just be in this little room and shooting each other. And yes, I understand the violence thing. Like some people hear that and go, well, wait, what? But they were like,
but that's a great example though. The gulag showers. So there's a level called gulag showers that Shorty is referring to, and it is a very small map, and we put a bunch of people in there and play free for all, everybody versus everybody.
It was just fun. And we were all yelling at each other,
and it was fun because we would try to do teams, and the free for all was more fun because we could all converse, and at a certain point, it was just spawn dying, and so you got to the spot where you just laugh and having fun together because you're all being
especially during a time where all the country except for South Carolina apparently, were locked down. I mean, it really was like, I make the joke like
we were open too. So like when you mentioned that, like when Kevin was talking about when he came in March, what he was referring to is Texas had reopened like South Carolina in May the previous year. They, both of our states shut down for about 8 weeks, 6-8 weeks, something like that. Yeah. And then we reopened. Our states were among the two that were leading the charge on let's reopen. Some of that is a
political,
but also some of it's a little bit of just kind of get her done mentality of like, who cares? And our states also have like cities that are densely populated. There's a lot of people in the cities, and then large areas of tracts of land where there's very few people.
Yes.
And
whereas it is different in New York City and Philadelphia, and
the urban versus rural experience with COVID was very, very different because I married a rancher's daughter, and where she grew up in Oklahoma, there's 400 people in the town. When we went back up there May of 2020 to do her niece's wedding, they were unfazed by it because, they live in a community where the whole county maybe has 50,000 people. Your risk is incredibly low. No one's traveling anywhere. And, but the other piece of that though, is like, it was that we had an outlet. Like I loved having an outlet, Jen, I've praised my wife at multiple spots in this podcast. I'd do it again here because she was okay and at peace with the fact that like, I needed to go play video games. She never made me feel bad about it. Every now and then she would communicate like, I'd like to have some time with you to watch a movie or watch a show. But she never made me feel bad about the video games because she knew that, especially in that time, that it was a necessary thing. Like I needed to have some other human interaction.
Yeah. Well, Kevin and I would not be doing this show right now if it weren't for, I met Demand on Call of Duty. Demand goes, hey, you need to check out this dude, DJ Hi Kevin. He does Twitch. And I was like, hi, Kevin. Like, what, like, is he smoking weed? Like, what is, and then like, I see him on Twitch and we all know the story about how we all met. I've told it 1,000 times. But like literally now, my best friends from the DJ world, I mean, Demand and Kevin. I mean, I talk to them every single day. And now Nate,
Yeah.
I mean, Nate, Kevin, man. And now there's like group chats. Like I'm in a group chat with Drew and Fuse and Kevin and Demand and Justin the DJ and Tony and, you know, and so it's like I feel almost like, because we all can get in that place where we're like, fuck the world, and I can at least text the group chat and there's just dumb dick joke things that go on in the group chat. That's just what boys are. And Glenn, we'd love to include you in the group chat as well. I don't have your number, but we'll put you in there. I will say I messaged Glenn. I was selling a bunch of stuff, and we'll tell the story and then we'll get to dad jokes. But we told this story last week on the podcast with Digital Dave. I think we did. And Glenn had messaged me about the sound switch boxes, and he's like, "How much do you want for him?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'll just give you like $250 for him." And then I didn't hear from him for like 4 or 5 hours, and he goes, "Never mind. I have to get an electrician." Then I replied and I said, "You don't need an electrician. You just plug him in." Like I was waiting for I was like, "This is the greatest joke ever."
I'm sorry, Bob.
I see Glenn read it and then nothing. I didn't get a single response.
Hey man, that goes back to like the reality. The perception is that what I do is glamorous and glorious. The reality is that there are days that I see you're selling a sound switch and I'm like, man, that could be cool for adding to one of my DJ setups, blah, blah, blah. Contrasted with my general manager being like, hey, we need to do this electrical change at the warehouse and it's going to be $5,000. And I'm like, oh, right. I don't have extra money to spend on anything else because the electrician is going to take it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay me. Good times.
Choices.
But it's crazy what the video games led to. Like, Shorty, you're right. Like, I've made so many connections from playing that game that have led to real life connections. Now, a lot of it is because of the DJ side of things and the playing together and the mass parties and such. But it is impressive and it's amazing how that's come to be. Kevin, you may have to travel to Dallas in the spring because Mirtha and Dan and I are talking about having like an old school sleepover when the new Zelda comes out.
Dude, I'm already there. I was talking to Dan about it because he was mentioned at it. Like there's literally, you can't see it right now because it's blocked by the albums, but I have Breath of the Wild mixed with a Starry Night like behind me, dude, like a tapestry thing.
Those can be the best days, man. We had you guys know I do a ski trip with a bunch of my guys every year. Yeah. And 2018 or 19, we went to Tahoe and we land in Reno, get to the shuttle, and we knew that it was going to snow, and they're on a blizzard warning. And so we lose a day of skiing because of a blizzard. And, Nate and Dom and Matt and Adante and those guys, they're so bummed out. They're so depressed. We're losing a day of skiing, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, let's go. We're gonna go do something. We're gonna do a makeshift pub crawl. And we started walking around, grabbing drinks, and then we wandered over to the grocery store and bought a Nerf football and a sled. And we found a little hill with where they were clearing the snow and had packed it in. And we threw the football and we're doing diving catches in the snow and all these things. And it was like, in the moment we were all depressed. At the time, everybody was kind of bummed about losing the ski day, but it turned out it was like having a snow day when you're 12 years old, and we had for those of us that were parents, we had no kids, no spouses, there was no commitments. It was just us in Tahoe being able to be silly and stupid, maybe having some things to help aid that along, but we were able to be there and be present, and it was like getting to have a snow day with my friends. So it was an amazing experience.
I got goosebumps, dude. It's a great story. You guys are just so fun. That's all.
I know we're kind of running up on time here. Glenn, I do appreciate you coming to Greenville and also seeing me awkwardly flirt with the waitress. I think we should at least end with that story.
But see, you weren't awkward. Well, it was more that the people around you made it awkward. Like
they did.
Like Kevin, Justin intentionally was trying to make it awkward for you.
Here, again, just knowing Nate now, for a while. Now I'm scared to go to dinner with him because she barely got her name out. She's like, "Hey, I'm Tyson. I'm taking your order tonight." Hey, Tyson, and that's a terrible Oklahoma accent, I know. But like, hey, Tyson, are you single? Because Shorty is, and just like right off the rip, like not even a hello, my name is Nate, just like this is it. And
save that
but
invitation,
I will say,
Kevin. That's gonna be perfect for the gram.
Right.
Looking at that moment, like looking back, I did think about it. I was like, I think I kind of need a Nate to like break the ice with that sort of thing. Because then once I get in the flow of things and I'm talking like I think I am fine. Like we were having a conversation, everything was going well. The down part is that, she was married. So like, that's obviously I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to mess around like that. And so that's where things kind of fell apart.
Yeah, Kev, she was legit. Like, it was not I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend. It was talking back, and then, well, I'm actually going to this bar. My husband is the bartender there. It was very like still a flirty.
And
like
then she showed up.
Yeah. I was like, okay, this escalated fast.
And then she kept coming around, like talking. And at this point, I'm just like over it. I'm like, yeah, what? Come on, like you played me. Like in the restaurant, and now you're trying to like butter me up and in the bar next to your husband. And if you guys are into swinging stuff, fine, but that's not me. Like, and then she comes over and starts whispering in my ear. She's like, "Hey, I heard you guys talking about Call of Duty. Like, you should get my Call of Duty tag." And like Nate is like trying to pull me out of the door at this. He's like, "I think we should leave. Like, I don't know what's going on right now." Like, it was just all this. But again, I look back at this situation. I'm like, I think I just need to move to Dallas and Nate just be my wingman. Like, just start the conversation, and I'm good to go from there.
You would fit in well in Dallas.
2,000 other wingmen.
It's very similar, but man, Greenville's so pretty though. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful city.
Thank you.
I did not know what to expect, and I wasn't like, I don't mean that from a place of like I expected it to be podunk or anything like that. I just didn't know what to expect because I haven't spent much time in South Carolina, and I was amazed by how your city is embracing the old with the new, and that we can grow and still stay true to the character of the city, but that we have to bring in new employers and, kind of new happenings. So
yeah, Greenville's one of those towns, cities 20 years ago, there was nothing. And now it's, we're two-sided when it comes to like, cause now like Greenville's on every top 10 list. You can just type in Greenville, South Carolina top 10 and 7 pages of top 10 come up.
It's a place to move.
I'll never forget one. It was during COVID, like toward the end of like 2020, the Washington Post put us on the front page, and we were like, but like, yeah, but no, like we don't, because then it's just like everyone's gonna be like, oh, let's move, to Greenville. And I think it's what it was. It was like the number one spot in the country to move to is Greenville, South Carolina. And all of us that day, like anybody in Greenville, were all like on Facebook, like, yeah, like it's nice to have the recognition, but please no, like maybe on page 5.
Well, I really liked Greenville. I will say that I liked it a lot. You can move
here. It's fine.
I would love to move there, but I'm deeply here. My place that I'd love to move to is Colorado, and my wife put the kibosh on that. She doesn't like the snow. She likes the mountains, but she doesn't like. She's out on the snow, and I'm like, man, I just don't like the heat. Like the heat here is brutal. But yeah, I think more. I hope your airport continues to develop paths because, if
that needs help.
Yeah, because it would be so if the path, I would definitely say that if the DJ retreat concept keeps growing, Greenville would be a great spot to bring people to.
Yeah. The other thing that they've actually talked about too is, and that if they do this, man, it'll be amazing. They've been talking about it for so long, but they've been talking about putting a speed rail from Atlanta to Greenville to Charlotte. So we're directly in the middle of Charlotte and Atlanta.
That's killer.
So you could hop on a fucking train and be in Atlanta in 30 minutes. You could hop on a train and be in Charlotte in 30 minutes. And then from there, you can just connect to wherever you want.
That would be amazing because Atlanta's traffic is terrible.
It's stupid. Yeah, it's so funny. I was talking to my aunt. My aunt and uncle are in Greenville tonight or this week from New Jersey, and they flew into Atlanta. And I was like, look,
massive
we
airport.
know we're 2 hours from Atlanta, and if I have a concert I want to go to, it's always Charlotte because it's so easy to get in and out of the city of Charlotte than it is Atlanta. But I would love that if like DJ Collective or any
when
type of DJ
Think Tank
conference.
when Think Tank was in Hilton Head, I flew into Atlanta. Flew into Atlanta, took the kids, and we went into the aquarium, which is amazing. But yeah, I was talking to David and Justin after the fact, and I was just like, guys, what is up with Atlanta's roads? And they're like, oh, it's always that way. And I was just like, it makes no sense because it's not like, I was like explaining to them, like, I understand when there's a wreck or something like that and it causes a backup. I was like, I don't understand when I sit in traffic for an hour just to get up and find that there's literally nothing, not even construction. It's like, what in the world?
We make the joke that it takes 2 hours to get to Atlanta and then 2 hours to get into Atlanta. Because it's like once you get to once you get into kind of that I-85 corridor, like we're in the kind of outskirts of Atlanta, Glenn's not wrong. Like you could sit in traffic for 2.5 hours and there is no wreck. It's just traffic. And also they have like 8 lanes on the interstate. This isn't like they have 3 lanes. Like they've got
correct.
enough.
I'm talking about a very large highway. Like I'm on a very large highway heading east from Atlanta out towards Savannah and Hilton Head. I'm on a very large highway and it's just not moving. It's wild. Yeah. Absolutely wild. You know, Kevin, the collective Tampa experience is really what shaped my desire and idea to do. I've been talking about the DJ retreat for a while, and it's something that we're going to do in 2023, and it's because of the experience that we had in Tampa. Like it was such an amazing time together. The 24 of us or whatever it was, being in a small group, and I've been talking. I'm so lucky. Like you guys were, I know that people think I'm like, oh, you're lucky that you have the DJs and you think about it from a financial standpoint, but I'm very fortunate to have, Nate and Tony and Justin and Peter and Dom and all these amazing people that I can say, okay, I'm thinking about doing this, tear holes in my idea. Like just rip it apart. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. I just have these incredibly wise people that I can get feedback from. And so like Justin and I have been talking about it a lot. And he's like, he's just, that kid with his vision for social media is just rip roaring with like, okay, we could do a content shoot and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, that would be cool. I was like, yeah, what if we didn't do, what if there was no education time? Like the idea is not to have speakers and education. The idea is to come and you're going to connect. You're going to develop relationships. You're going to, hopefully you're going to create content. We were even talking about that we may set up like a road setup and allow, people to record podcasts because a bunch of people have podcasts. It would be like, if you had a bunch of people in the same spot, how amazing to give them a makeshift studio to go home and have things to drop when they're moving forward. So,
yeah.
We have a Premier Party Entertainment podcast. So like we have clients that like couples, when their wedding is done, we bring them back in. So sit them down
that's
and
cool.
Talk to them. So dude, steal the idea. Like if you got that, it's and I have couples that come in, and there's one girl that came in like 3 weeks ago. She goes, I've listened to everything, every single thing you have on that podcast. I've listened to every interview. Like, and it's like super, almost super fans of like that sort of stuff. So
we want to do
definitely like
we're going to do a float trip first, I think is what we've decided. We wanted to do ski trip first, but skiing is such a big hurdle. It's a big threshold. Skiing, for those of you that don't do it, it's an expensive sport. Unfortunately, a couple of companies have bought up most of the mountains, and lift tickets are in excess of $100 a day. Ski rentals, getting there. But I think we will do a ski one. It's just we're not going to start there. We're going to do a float so we can do something that's a little more digestible, a little easier, and it's something we know a little bit better. But I'm excited to see where it may. I'm excited to see where it may land, and it's just gonna be different. Like that's the thing. I'm excited. I'm like excited about trying it because I've been talking about it for a while, but I'm also a little fearful because it's like it's this weird and different thing. And like I told you guys, I got a chip on my shoulder that I don't that I don't get to speak and lead. But yeah, Kevin, Tampa convinced me that it was that it could be a thing.
Well, what I loved about Tampa is in the first day, I took 18 pages of notes, size 12 font. You know, I was just grooving taking notes because I wanted to bring something back because nobody else from the company was there. Right.
Yeah.
What I really got out of it was clearly
amazing, Kevin. Like, that is the wild thing to me is our trajectory together revolved around I better not name his name, having a vasectomy
I can
issue.
bleep it out. You can say it if you want.
Vasectomy issue made he had to stay home. And so he's like, Kevin, you have to go in my place. And Kevin, to your credit, man, like, you were a little overwhelmed because you were thrown into the deep end with, I mean, it's listen, I'm not one of the main names there. There was Digital Dave was there. Mike Walter was there. I mean, a lot of very heavy hitters. And I really was just kind of I was more or less Nate's sidekick invite. And Kevin, you were like a little deer in the headlights. Like, okay, this is crazy. And then you're like, okay, let's do it. Jump in. And that was our first real chance to like hang out. And you're right. It was this crazy time of, you're getting a lot of notes, you're learning so much stuff. But it was also the nice thing there was, and that's the hard part. That's I'm so I want to go on record. Like, I'm so incredibly proud and happy for DJ Collective, for Joe and for Brian
Absolutely.
And for Jason. I love what the collective has become, regardless of what people feel about how much they're charging. Hear me, as someone that has had to produce other DJ shows, while it feels like what they're charging is expensive, it is expensive to have ballroom space and all the, like, producing a show is incredibly, incredibly expensive. They are not driving Bentleys because they're doing this show. So I love what they've built, and the capitalist in me understands why they needed to take it. Like, that they have the ability to sell 200 tickets. I mean, that they have that ability. I'm like, damn, I'm so proud of them. I'm like so happy for them. It just makes me a little sad because that 24 was so special.
So special, man. And honestly, like, some of the best relationships that I still keep up with.
Yeah.
You know, to this day, we literally I sat behind Dave Lander. I didn't know who he was, but at one point I caught myself because he was making an edit during the presentation. So I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? You know, like, not paying attention to whoever was talking at the time. You know, I sat behind Kristen Wilson, and I remember the first words I said to her was like, listen, I know you don't know me or who I am, but your hair's fucking perfect. Like, that was literally the first words that I said to her. You know, Jason Henninger, I still talk to him all the time.
Dude, Henninger is a quiet giant. Henninger is a quiet giant that people don't know about.
Absolutely.
And he is somebody that I met and became friends with and have gotten much closer to, but our connection started in Tampa. Like, I remember him and I sitting at that steakhouse. We got assigned to the table together, and he was so excited. And he told me about how much weight he had. Like, it was unpeeling this onion of, you know, I've lost like 100 pounds. He had lost a lot of weight. And wow, how'd you do that? Oh, I did keto. Oh, cool. Nate has just been doing keto. I'm kind of familiar with that concept. Yeah, I got into it because my dad passed away of a heart attack at, I can't remember what age, but fairly young, too young to be doing it. And him being a father himself was like, I can't let this be my story.
Right.
And so he went on keto, lost a ton of weight. He's a like, his background is in like engineering or something. Like, he's got this incredible education that he could go do a lot of things. And then as you're unpeeling that onion, you find out this mofo, when he was a little bitty kid, like when he was like 10 years old, was a world ranked archerist. World ranked.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You apparently you put a bow and arrow in this Joker's hands, and he is lethal from a distance.
Wow.
He's really good at Red Dead Redemption. I'm just kidding.
All right, listen. So, and I feel like I always end the podcast, or we always end the podcast like this, but we have been ridiculed for going too long sometimes. We are trying to shorten it.
I feel like I could go another 2 hours with Glenn, but also I know Glenn has a life and things to do, and then it's just 2 hours.
Thank you. I love you guys.
I want to have you back.
Appreciate that.
We love you too, man.
And maybe at some point you guys can have G-Money on, but we'll just have to see if we can work that out. You know, it's kind of like it's like Elon Musk being on Joe Rogan. There's some things that have to line up, but we can talk about it.
For sure, man. Yeah. We would love to. Listen, bro, you got to come back on, even if it's just Glenn Roush talking again.
Heck yeah.
You know, I love talking to you, man, and you're so inspiring, whether you think you are or not. You did say that you would work up a dad joke. Do you have anything ready as a real father? We love to hear it from dads. You know?
I don't have a good one. Jokes are not.
You're a little more off the cuff too,
jokes
right?
Jokes are not my strength. Yeah.
Like I know you're a funny guy because you've made me laugh plenty of times. But Shorty loves to rank my jokes really poorly.
Okay.
The guest and I do. Okay. They've been mediocre at best the past couple of weeks. What's going on?
I've been working with that, knowing that the things that I've been saying haven't been working. I've been trying to go a slightly different direction. So I will say, I actually, because everything was going so poorly, I went to the doctor because on top of all of the bad jokes I've been telling, I've been having a lot of irregular bowel movements. And he diagnosed me with all kinds of weird shit.
I like it. You got a headphone toss. Yes.
Shorty's gone.
Yes.
Shorty's gone. That means it's good. That means it's good.
That is a good one.
You know?
I like it.
He's actually completely
That's
gone.
A solid one.
He walked out the door. Shorty, we're ready for you again.
Shorty, I'm going to need a ride to the airport, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking us to the airport at the crack of dawn, man. Appreciate you. That's a real friend.
Sorry, I went to go throw up outside. That joke was so terrible. I'm back.
Terrible. That's a great joke.
Terrible.
No.
The worse they are, the better they are. The worse they are, the better they are.
That's all I heard. Sorry.
He was thanking you for taking them to the airport.
Absolutely, man. Listen, you again. I can have you. We could talk for another 2 hours, but I know we can't. But I just don't think I'm not going to text you a million questions now. Because you're one of the smartest fucking individuals I think I've ever met. You, Nate, and that's the other thing that you guys are like a superhero duo. What's a superhero duo? Batman and Robin, maybe? Sure, I don't know.
That's one. Sure.
You guys are. I've never seen the movie, so I don't know. But just the two of you, not take all your other team out. Like, not that they're not important, but just you and Nate together. Like, you know, if it were just the two of you, I think it's incredible. But then you just have Justin, you got Matt, and you've got. I don't know how you did it. I really don't. Like, you've got so many incredible people on your team. Your wife is beautiful. Your kids are beautiful.
Matt, Martha, and Dominic responded to a Craigslist ad in 2014 or 13. I'd have to, but the same Craigslist ad. I landed those two DJs, and that's why I was joking. Like, that was truly the greatest Craigslist find I've ever had. We don't use Craigslist anymore, but we were using it then. And no, right. But listen, I'm talking about 10 years ago. But at the time, it was a viable thing. And I found those two jokers from the same ad. And I didn't know it at the time, obviously, but now it's just it's wild. It's so crazy that was the way that these two guys ended up in my sphere.
That's crazy.
And then you got
good for you.
You got your private jet. It's truly incredible. You know?
I got a Tesla. It feels like a jet when I go fast, but
I've never driven in a Tesla or ridden in a Tesla.
Oh, it's so
what a contrast from your previous vehicle as well, which was a literal monster truck.
It was a Tundra. It was a big Tundra V8. At my best, I would get 12 miles to the gallon at my best, and because it was all jacked up. My wife got it for me for my birthday. And it was fun, but it was so impractical. Especially in an urban setting, if I lived out in a rural setting, it'd be great. But taking it into a downtown setting, trying to park it or having to deal with, I'm too tall for this garage. That's going to be a problem. But I swapped it. I swapped it for a Tesla. I went from one to the other November of last year before everything blew up. And then all of a sudden gas started going through the roof and I had the electric vehicle.
Am I okay? I might have the story wrong. Did you crash the Tesla, or am I making that up?
No, I did crash. I did crash the Tesla. I think that, it was back at the end of May. Tony Pre is a big New York Rangers fan, and they had just won one of their Game 7s to advance. And we had all been texting. I think it was a Sunday. We'd all been texting when it was going on, and I had made a joke about that if they win, we'll go to the casino. And they were all like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I was like, "Okay, let's go. I'll drive." And so we're driving up there, and there's a storm, and we hit some water, and we went Tony Hawk style. I think we did like 3 full turns. The nice thing on a Tesla is that the battery is across it's pretty, not like flat like a piece of paper, but it's flat across the bottom. And so the weight is pretty evenly distributed. So we didn't roll. We didn't have anything. We just spun. The scary part was seeing the other headlights. I kind of was confident that we weren't going to roll, but I thought we were going to get hit by another car. And just by the grace of God, none of those cars hit us. We spun, went into the center, and we hit the grass. The grass slowed us down, and I went, and my back spun into the concrete wall. So I've got a back quarter panel that I'm still waiting to get replaced. But it was one of those, like, we were all sitting there, and it was just like, wow, we were stunned. We were by Buc-ee's, by the way. We were by the Buc-ee's.
Of course.
So we went and stopped it. I was like, I stepped out. It was pouring rain. I looked. I was like, okay, the tires are all inflated. I think it's drivable. Let's drive up to Buc-ee's where we'll have an overhang and kind of figure some of this stuff out. Yeah, so we drove to Buc-ee's, reset, and we still went to the casino and gambled and had fun.
Hey, you guys already had your luck.
Yeah, got it out of the way.
May as well keep riding.
Got it out of the way. And
was Nate Nelson in the car with you?
Nate was in the car with me. It was me, Nate, Justin, and Tony. So.
Because Nate would have probably been, I bet you that you could do it 4 times. You could spin the car 4 times. You only spun 3, so I win.
Luckily, I had been playing a lot of Forza at the time, and so
counter steering was down.
So I actually handled it pretty well. They were all silent. I mean, rightfully so. And they're like, all we heard was Glenn being like, "Oh fuck, oh shit," and I was just cursing, but I was mostly cursing because I could see the car, so it was just like,
right. It was every spin you said, "Oh fuck."
Probably.
Oh fuck.
Probably.
Right. Bro, and that's very because I've been the driver of a vehicle filled with 3 other people, and I've gone from like a dry road to a covered in stone type of road. They do fresh oil loose stone in Connecticut where I grew up. So like we hit one of those, and all of a sudden I was literally counter steering, and I had people grabbing handles and yelling and screaming. And I got out of the counter steers, and I was like, "Yo, can everyone just shut the fuck up? Like, I got it. I just needed everyone to chill out." You know,
it was absolutely Kevin.
And they're like, "Well, you almost killed us." And I was like, "No, you did."
Dude, my wife rolled her first car. She had a little RAV4, and she rolled her first car on a gravel road, taking a turn too fast. So, like, it is a very real thing. And I wasn't driving dangerously in that moment, but yes, an electric vehicle, if you haven't ridden in a Tesla, it is wild. I mean, the like mine is I have a long range Y. So it's the quote unquote crossover of the other ones. Right. And so it's not the fastest one, and it's 0 to 60 in like 4.5 seconds.
Still fast.
Still very, very fast. Like
very quick.
When I have to accelerate, I tell my kids Slinky Dog mode, like Slinky Dog at Disney World, because it's the same like takeoff, and it kind of prepares them. And I want to ride in one of the plaids because I can't imagine what 0 to 60 at 2.5, like almost half the time. Oh. I can't imagine what it is. Because where an electric is really bonkers, like the 0 to 60 is impressive, and it's like a back in your seat kind of thing. But like, if we're on a highway and a clear highway, and the ability to go from 60 to 110 with very little effort is real. Like, that's really where you can show off the speed, is because because it doesn't have to convert fuel to anything. The power is there. It's just boom. And that it's like that sound that people use on Reels and TikToks, it's got 3 speeds here, there, and gone. Powered, like it's like that. It really is.
Yep. Those things. That's electric power, though. That's the future, everybody. So
what are they going to be in
strap
10
your
years?
seatbelts on.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Bro, it's been so much fun having you on, and honestly, we could go again. We will go again another time.
Yeah. For those of you that have hung on,
you done dad jokes? Are you done?
We're done.
You good?
Yeah.
You don't want to tell anymore. You're good with dad jokes. We're done.
Yeah, let's keep people wanting more. This way I don't
or,
have to.
Or
find
not.
one.
With that joke. That might have been the last dad joke we tell on the show ever. Yeah, that might be it.
It's weird how when the stuff starts to fizzle out, we listen to the crowd. So if dad jokes aren't it, if we get to spend 10 more minutes working with Glenn, which Glenn, do you want to do us a favor and just let everybody know where they can find you?
You can find me on Instagram or Facebook. It's just Glenn Roush, Glenn with 2 N's and Roush. I will prep you that I can be a fun and interesting follow, but I don't post nearly as much as anybody else because I'm first of all, I'm pretty far in the grind on stuff, and second of all, like all the earlier conversations about ADD, I have to be limited on how much time I give the social medias.
True. Very
They're
true.
addicting.
Well, there you go, everybody. There you go.
Also, don't leave
sir.
before you're uploading that stuff.
Yeah. So, give us Shorty. Take us out, bro. Take us out, Shorty.
Next week, we may or may not have dad jokes. So, you just gotta stay tuned. That's just where it's at. But that's just where it's at, people. Okay,
where we're at, people.
And our guests next week, people. We're gonna leave you hanging, people. But people. Sometimes you just gotta watch my Instagram, TikTok, people. Is that a good enough tease?
That's a great tease, dude. That's a perfect tease.
That's a great tease.
Glenn, do you know who we're having on next week just from that tease?
I know who you're having on next week, and I'm it's a good get. He's a very intelligent and very funny person. I think that people just think he's sarcastic, but it's a very smart dude.
Ooh.
All right, people. All right, people. Till the next time, people.
Thanks for checking out the Radio Shorty podcast with DJ Hi Kevin. New episodes drop every Tuesday wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as videos on our YouTube page. For exclusive clips and highlights, check out our Instagram and TikTok at Radio Shorty Podcast, and we will see you next Tuesday.